Nation somehow to the monarchy of Great Britain. But by 1963, when the country in exercise of our independence parted ways with that constitution, Nigeria introduced a republican constitution with Nnamdi Azikiwe, the then Governor General, transmuting to President of the Federal Republic.
I, Nnamdi Azikiwe, swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Anchored on allegations of corruption and misrule, a coup d'etat overthrew that constitution and the democratic government, and for several years the country labored under military dictatorship and fought a bitter civil war, which not only deepened the divisions in the polity, but entrenched the military as a recurring decimal for 33 years. With the end of hostilities on 15th of January 1970, Nigerians continued to battle to keep the country together and tackle the socio-political and economic problems that bedeviled the country. In 1975, encouraged by the misgivings of Nigerians and the failure to commit to a definite roadmap for a return to civil rule by the Gowon administration, the military struck once more, and a young officer, Brigadier General Muritala Mohammed, became head of state.
We are committed to a federal system of government and a free, democratic, and lawful system of government which guarantees fundamental human rights.
In 1979, led by then General Olusegun Obasanjo, who had become head of state following the assassination of General Muritala Mohammed, the military retreated to the barracks after organizing an election which produced Shehu Shagari as the president under a new constitution.
We don't want division. We don't want north-south confrontation anymore. We want all Nigerians, wherever they are, to regard themselves as brothers and sisters.
With this development, Nigerians believed that the military had gone for good and that new democratic culture would be nurtured. Unfortunately, on the last day of 1983, just 4 years into the democratic experience, the military staged another coup, toppling President Shehu Shagari and his government and installing General Muhammadu Buhari as head of state.
The Nigerian armed forces could not stand idly by while this country was drifting towards a dangerous state of political and economic collapse through the continued ineptitude and insensitiveness of a political leadership who were apparently unwilling to change.
Though the Buhari-Idiabo regime, with its war against corruption and war against indiscipline, brought a degree of order in Nigeria's national life, it also marked a period of human rights abuses and attack on press freedom, culminating in the imprisonment of 2 Guardian journalists, Tunde Thompson and Ndokai Rabo, under the draconian Decree 4. In 1980,
what we wanted to do was to do professional journalism, which meant that we needed to investigate. We needed to bring out the facts. We needed to bring out information that was hidden, that was unknown, that government didn't want known, but which Nigerians needed to know. So that we could improve access, public access to information, particularly public information. So we went at it as if our lives depended on it, particularly in the area of investigative journalism. We knew we would get into trouble. We knew we would meet with roadblocks, and we made a lot of roadblocks. We were thrown into jail several times. The products were seized and so on. The ultimate price we paid with the loss of Delegiwa, who was killed in a parcel bomb incident, and the closure of Newswatch for 6 months.
The high-profile assassination of the founding editor-in-chief of Newswatch magazine, Delegiwa, on 19th October 1986 in a parcel bomb, became one of the biggest scandals of the Babangida era and one of the most ruthless attacks on the pro-democracy movement.
I spoke to him that morning. It was a Sunday.
Murdered during the military era were never found.
It was a badly done job. I don't think they couldn't hide all the telltale signs were there.
I would rather say that the insecurity in the country, particularly in the western part of the country, was such. Safety of life and property. The people involved in this wet air, we call it. Wet air means pour petrol, that's wetting the...
No longer see the system
who know to again this morning to educate me. We've been running for a stretch, marathon, missing for quite a long time. Professor Mukhtar Imam. Professor Imam is a political science professor at the Institute of Security Studies. Prof, you're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Where have you been?
I've been around.
You've been around?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to start by looking at what you have just said, or unpacking what you have just said within the context of etymology, i.e. that we're going to be dissecting and x-raying the conversation around democracy, drawing from its etymology, which defines democracy, which is what has come to be adopted, even though in the social sciences, concepts defy definition. However, there are standards, there are universal acceptable, connotations of certain concepts. And so what the world has come to adopt scientifically as democracy is a system of government whereby individuals are elected and in some cases selected through the whims and caprices of the citizenry, which is reflective of the etymological definition of democracies, which is people rule or popular rule. So conceptually, this is what democracy is about. A system of government whereby people elect or select those who represent them in positions of authority is what democracy is about. So wherever you find that these forms are present or prevalent, you have Abraham Lincoln's popular prism. You will come to see that that could open room for a lot of contestation.
Like what I just raised.
However, you see, the people here
are not the coup plotters. Thank you very much.
Thank you for arriving for me.
Clement, well, as a lawyer, does my philosophical venture make any meaning when you are considering press? Does it make any meaning? Or am I just venturing into shark-infested waters?
Definitely. I think you have just hit it by the head of the nail, because he said you're already in a shark-invested water. Some of us who are Democrats by nature believes that the government that should be practiced in every civilized clime must be a government that is centered by the people, that are people-oriented, not decisions that can be taken within maybe 1 or 2 persons and handed down to billions of people.
No matter how beneficial
no matter how.
it is.
So, and I must appreciate Prof. In dissecting that etymological point and philosophical area, which you are actually arguing that whether the military or whoever that is in power are not part of the people. They are part of the people, but they have their boundaries, and they have a modus operandi.
And they are an institution that has its functions.
They have their functions, and definitely a lot of people who have not witnessed their rule, definitely, because majority of the persons, I think Nigeria is over 30-something years when we last witnessed that. A lot of the young ones that are now, that's why you see some of the countries that the military have taken over, they keep celebrating and celebrating. That is not what we wish for everybody, but we cannot, as a matter of fact, waive their own importance in the economic development of every nation. We mustn't waive it just like that. And I have Abuja as a very great example. I don't think that there is any civilian government who have done what the military did in terms of development.
Thank you very much. That does not qualify them. You know why, Prof, why I started from this venturesome background is because there is an uncomfortable conversation within the media space, within the social media space. I say, oh, these times are very hard. This governance is very expensive and profligate. These processes are taking a century for the outcome to be experienced and all that. I think there should be a shortcut to all this nonsense. Now, I'm using it for us to make an entry into the reaction of the citizenry to what they are getting out of governance at present. Do you think that in the past 2 years, this government has given the Nigerian citizen a reason to be confident, trusting, hopeful in Nigerian democracy?
You see, let me start by endorsing and, of course, building upon this conversation from what yourself and Barrister have just alluded to. And of course, you could tell when Barrister was speaking to the last point that the one thing that is most essential to people or the citizenry is dividends of government, is to ensure that food is on their table. People do not care what name you give to the system of government. All they are concerned about is its impact. Why? Because that is what the social contract dictates.
That's what it's all about.
So where people begin to find that their needs are not met, they will question the authority. You begin to see traits that you might assume are, anti-democratic. Now, to answer your question, you see, the reality is there's a deficit in governance, which has created a deficit in development, which has in turn created a deficit in
trust and confidence.
Right. Now, where you find that a system is rift with trust deficit, it is only natural that the people revolt against such a system, no matter how good it appears on paper. People will naturally galvanize themselves and say, we're tired. Because humans have two essential traits. We're either submissive or we're aggressive. If a man cannot provide milk and bread for his family, he's wilder than the beast. Every system of government has its flaws as much as they have their benefits. Every system. And that's why you would take, not with a pinch of salt, the last passage or the last point that Barrister was trying to allude to, that there is no civilian government that can match infrastructural development and economic contributions that the military have made using Abuja as a case study. The National Human Rights Commission was established by whom? Sani Abacha. So when you go down that path, you will come to see that there are a lot of indices that are available for you to be able to use to juxtapose your position, which is the foundation you were trying to lay ab initio. So you see, people do not really concern themselves with the names.
And the processes.
Exactly. What people are mostly, the fundamentals to ensure that the dividends of democracy,
the outcome,
absolutely, it is the outcome that people are concerned about. And like I said, this is what the social contract theory or the social contract agrees with. And so therefore, you find that all over the world, this is not just a Nigerian factor, there's a democratic reversal going on all over the world today. Tell me, point to one place, you will barely find a place where elections have been conducted and concluded in the last decade where you do not see protests, including the United States. So there is that, the deep-seated contestation with regards to outcomes of whatever processes that has brought people to positions of authority. And perhaps this is the reason why even people like Socrates themselves have said that democracy is one of the worst forms of government. And when he was asked why, because it puts in position of authority people who have no business with governance. Because, lo and behold, democracy is about populism.
That's what it is.
It is not about effectiveness or efficiency. But the United Nations will differ because they have sanctioned and counter-sanctioned Muammar Gaddafi, who tried to bring succor to his people.
I was there, I saw it all, and I was sad the day he died.
So you see, when you take all of these independent issues and you put them collectively to try to dissect and analyze, it leaves you with a very bleak conclusion or submission. And it is of no fault of yours. It is as a result of the frustration and hopelessness that you see within the system. These are some of the things that leads certain individuals and certain groups
to begin to raise some conversations
around these issues.
Querying democracy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, while there are deep-seated issues, we must, of course, come to also appreciate some of the benefits of democracy as well.
Okay, Prof. My third guest, Honorable Akala, he is in Kefi, and Honorable Akala will be joining us almost immediately. If my producer is put him on Zoom, Honorable Akala will shortly get across to you so that he'll join us in this conversation via Zoom. Now, we've just spoken generally, Barrister. Let us begin to look at 2 years of Tinubu. Has democracy, how healthy is Nigerian democracy? And Prof said the final thing, no matter the process, is the outcome. What does the Nigerian citizen feel? How does he feel about the last 2 years of the Tinubu administration? Before I take you, the first institution I'm going to take you to is the legislature. But before I do that, let me just ask my producer, are you ready with that vox pop? Because Abuja residents aired their opinion, expressed themselves on what they think about the last 2 years. Let us not speak for them. And by the way, along the line in this conversation, we'll throw the phone lines open so that you can ask questions to Prof and seek explanations from our lawyer in the studio. But first of all, if that Vox Pop is ready, can my producer kindly let us hear out what Abuja residents are saying?
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu clocked 2 years on May 29, 2025. The president has promised renewed hope agenda for Nigerians, and he said every Nigerian will enjoy the dividends of democracy. 2 years after today, we are on the streets of Abuja to ask Nigerians how has the president's policies affected their lives.
As a politician, to him, maybe he must be thinking he has done enough, but at least to a common man in the country, the economy is not really palatable at all. People are suffering. There's hardship in the land. So I don't think he has done enough to a common man as it is, because the language the common man understands is at least feeding, and which has become so hard to so many people. Nigerians, they are not really smiling, and we all know it has never been like this before. Despite the fact that we are still undergoing some process according to them. But I think they should do better to make life easier for a common man in the country.
As he's giving us hope, we hope to see how things are going to get better. But if it's about better now, we're not seeing anything yet. In the next 2 years, if we see good thing, we hope we'll just be looking at it. He's doing it to just come back. Because what we expect, we are supposed to be seeing it now, not next year. If it's about next year and then 2027, he's just doing all those ones to ease things down and then come back to the power.
I see him doing things that in the nearest future we would be like, wow. So this particular ideology and knowledge was imbibed or imputed in him. But due to the kind of, will I say, cabinet members and people he has around him, they've been able to subject and subdue that growth mindset in him.
The president came into office with a lot of promises, which videos and everything, all the old promises are still online. But he should look into things. So many people are going through a lot of things. We expect Mr. President to at least put in the effect of what we are going through in this country by using, or let's say, the distractions around him are very large. So I believe at some point that he might not even know what we are going through.
I think there is something significant that happened in this administration that I don't know many people know. Never been announced that in the last few years. I think that is significant.
We believe if he's given a chance for the rest 2 years, it will still improve on what he has been doing. And if he extends more than that, we know then he will try.
He needs to do something, just as he promised by his campaign. He needs to do put those promises in order. Otherwise, we didn't see anything of it.
I think before Nigeria will become the Nigeria we all dream of, we have to pass through hard times. And I believe that is the time we are right now. And the president is trying to make things better for everybody. But because of what has happened before, that is the past government, the foundation they laid. So we, the citizens of Nigeria, we are looking at it as if the president is not trying enough. But when you look at it the other way around, the president is really trying. For him to achieve these results, we must pass through hard time. And I believe that is the time we are now. But if we can endure, things will be better.
Oga, he has not done enough to fulfill the promises of the campaign. If I may give him a pass mark, it's just 30% out of 100.
That is the opinion of Nigerians. From the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Nasiru Usman, reporting for Signature TV.
Well, I didn't say those things. Abuja residents whom we spoke with, those are the things they think about the last 2 years of the Tinubu administration. But you see, that was a mixed bag, really. Some people are not just happy, they are confident. And some others expect much more than they have got. Clement. Let's look at the institutions that operate jointly to be able to deliver campaign promises and the promises of democracy. That social contract which bottom line is the welfare of the people, as explained to me now by Prof. Legislature is very critical. I will take you on in this conversation on two arms of this government. As a lawyer, we'll converse elaborately on the judiciary, but a first take, legislature. Looking at the outcomes we have experienced of the Tinubu administration, how do you look at the contributions of the legislature in giving us what we've got?
Thank you very much for this wonderful question. I think, first of all, we have to look at the oath of office of every, be it the legislatures or even the political executives. In that particular oath of office, because we are meant to understand that violation of your oath of office is a crime. When we look at that oath of office, that virtually everyone who is saddled with responsibility for the governance of this country have taken, almost all of them have failed to their oaths of office. The legislature that has been saddled with responsibility of initiating quality laws for the betterment and well-being of all of us have completely, left their duties and being rubber-stamped indirectly and, hobnobbing with the executives.
Can I interject here? The president of Nigerian Senate, distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, says that legislators were not elected to wear gloves and be breaking the executive jaws. That anybody who thinks that they're there to floor the president and put to pieces his appointees and his agencies and institutions, that the person is getting it wrong. That they're supposed to collaborate in order for the executive to deliver. So are we expecting hard knocks, bare knuckle punches from the legislature for us to know that they're delivering on their oath?
It is purely a political statement. If he understands, as a lawyer, he understands that there is always a check and balances in all the separation of powers. There are responsibilities that have already been enshrined in the Constitution that they must always live up to expectation by watching and guarding and looking at the functions, I think all the responsibilities of the executive and the other area by checking to make sure that what is meant to be done is being done.
Barrister, let me again interrupt you. I hope you don't mind. My third guest, Honorable Akala, is on Zoom. Hello, Honorable Akala. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Glad to join you
this morning.
Yeah, I'm in Lafia, the Nasarawa State.
You are in Lafia, okay. That a beautiful capital city.
Yeah,
I understand that things are getting better there. This morning, we are looking at the health of Nigerian democracy. If you followed us from the beginning, we have tried to define, understand that the bottom line in democracy is what that government is giving to the electorate. In that area you are, how is Nasarawa State feeling the impact of the Tinubu administration?
Well, thank you very much. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to join you from the onset of the conversation because of technical glitch. But I have a little understanding from the little I got. Like you said, democracy is about the people. Democracy has been defined by that is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Therefore, any activity of government must be one that is directed at improving the security and welfare of the citizens. And so to talk about the people of Nasarawa State feeling the impact of the Tinubu administration, first I'd like to say Nasarawa is part of Nigeria, and you hear every Nigerian say we're going through a lot. So this going through a lot transverse every length and breadth of Nigeria, including Nasarawa inclusive. Therefore, the hunger is still ravaging the streets. And of course, the difficulty in transportation, the high cost of transportation is still, of course, the people are grappling with. But you see, what I hear the people say here is that, of course, Tinubu is the president of Nigeria, is the leader of the democracy of the country, and that he has taken very bold steps, particularly the audacity to remove the fuel subsidy that previous leaders have been very, very skeptical and scared to do. And that he did that. And that, of course, resources, more resources are at the disposal of subnational, meaning that governors and local government chairmen have more resources at their disposal at the moment. But what you always hear Nigerians say is that the president is not reaching out to the citizens. But what we hear here is that the governors too are not carrying out, they are not utilizing these funds to tackle the effect of the subsidy that has affected food prices, has affected transportation, and has of course affected general livelihood. So I think, to my personal opinion, that the governors may have to step up, but of course the people are not smiling. The economy has been very tough, but I must give it to the president. He has taken bold steps. If the subnational can utilize the almost about 200% increase in revenues at their disposal, and also allow the local government to utilize same, I believe that the people will feel the impact of the Tinubu administration. But right now, it has been tough. Insecurity is still there. People cannot freely go to the farm. So I think there is a lot of work to be done.
Okay, Honorable Akala, I will come back to you presently, because you have raised a fundamental issue. And Barrister Clement was trying to take us through on the contributions, or what ought to be the contributions of the legislature in the outcome of democracy. And that will help us to put the performance of the Tinubu administration in proper perspective. But Clem, Honorable Akala has raised an issue, which, pardon me, you come back to the legislature. I want you to address it. That's a mistake those of us in the media seem to be making in Nigeria. That in assessing the overall performance of the Nigerian economy, we tend to put the federal government in the limelight. Not forgetting, or rather we seem to forget, that in assessing the national economy, the performance of the subnationals is central. Now, this president has fought very furiously to set the local governments free and make money available to them directly. That is a means of putting more resources where it ought to be. This president is struggling almost effectively now to remove the local governments from the control of the governors. That also leaves some measure of operational liberty for the local governments. Lastly, he's giving so much money to them by his own financial policy. In assessing the outcome of this democracy, the deliverables, don't we also hold the subnationals accountable?
In fact, the one of the only institution that is very close to the people is the local government areas. And like I said in one of the programs that we had, when I was when I was in primary school, I was enjoying pipe-borne water. But as it is currently in my state, we do not have pipe-borne water in my locality. And the local governments are just kind of handbags of the governors. They appoint them either as sole administrator or sometime in the election, they will take all positions during the election. So I think there has to be kind of a policy that will give absolute independence and core financial to the true meaning of the financial autonomy or independence to the local government, so that they will come up and bring up their own personal ideas, and they are not under immunity, so that the Economic and Financial Crime Commissions and all the necessary agencies can hold them accountable. Because I think the president, if he has not done anything well, I think he has done tremendously well in bringing up that policy, in even thinking and cogitating about it, in bringing up to speed, even pushing the Attorney General of Federation to even go to get an interpretation to such thing. I think he has done wonderfully well, and it is left for us, because we are the people. The people will continue to agitate so that some of these policies that is already in, let's say, white paper should be implemented. And the only way it can only be implemented is by us coming up to talk about it, criticize about it, and talk a little bit true to power against the governors who have been holding this local government to ransom. It is completely everywhere. If you go to the election, the sitting governor takes all the local government areas in their states. And I wouldn't know. They only pay them normal statutory monthly stipends. But every other money, even if the local government signs that money out, the money finds its way back to the governors. So we are in a very serious problem in this country. The people that we felt that should be obeying the laws are not obeying the laws.
I'm going to come back to you, because don't forget I said we discuss elaborately legislature and the judiciary. Prof, governance, which determines the outcome of the democracy, is a joint relationship.
Yes.
The federal government at the center, the states, and the local government. Honorable Kala had just raised an issue that Nasarawa State, yes, is part of Nigeria, the people are still crying, but he said, they still raise questions, Mr. Governor of Nasarawa State, Mr. Local Government of Kefi Local Government, what are you doing with the resources made available to you? If I'm to assess Tinubu now, I say, look, Tinubu has made it possible for the subnationals to receive more resources to operate. Yet, the citizen is complaining that things are not going well. He's hungry, he's insecure, I'll just come to that. And we're assessing 2 years of Tinubu. Do you think the governance structure, the governance relationship, is working well enough to deliver in the interest and welfare of the people? Looking at the federal, state, and local governments.
Well, the reality is that typically when you assess an administration, of course, it's a global metric. The idea is to assess the administration in the center or at the center. Whether it be a federalist system or a confederalist system or even a monarchy or democratic monarchies. As
the center carries the can.
The center essentially carries or bears the brunt, takes up the responsibility. Assessment is made using certain indices and parameters that falls to of the subnationals, the local, and of course the state governments, because by so doing, and of course the tasks and functions and responsibilities of the legislature, because in all fairness, sometimes we lump up the responsibilities of the executive to the legislatures. Of course, as a result of ignorance or denial, or perhaps by the subtle, nuanced system that we have found ourselves in, which is induced.
Prof, do you ever listen to our legislators?
Yes.
They themselves, even when they are campaigning, begin to appropriate certain responsibilities.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It is sometimes induced by the politicians themselves, that thought process, that line of thinking. And so you find that people do not understand where to draw the line. But to answer your question very critically, the reality is that no government at the center has ever been able to do it, whether it's a federalist or confederalist state, whether it is Nigeria or the United States, without the support of the subnationals. The subnationals are an even more critical and essential element of the Nigerian project or the national project, depending on what climate we're referring to. So the roles of the subnationals are very, very critical. Where resources are made available, there's the need for them to ensure that the dividends of democracy or the dividends of a system of government reaches down to the grassroots. Because the reason why governments are at various tiers is to ensure that the people feel the impact at the lowest. And so where you find that subnationals are not acting in tandem with what is happening at the center, then you have a problem. And this takes me back to the need to ensure that a framework is developed for a national objective to be achieved, and that the center is in sync with the subnationals for these policies to be achieved. Whether they be micro or macro economic policies or whatever other policies, there's the need for the government at the center and the subnationals to work in tandem. Because where you find that one one is in contrast with the other, then naturally the end result is that you will find that there will be disconnect and disjoint, around. So this is literally the case. But at the end of the day, like I said in the beginning, the center bears the brunt. Where indices, parameters, and rulers for measuring the economic growth of a country are put in place, right, by international organs, nobody tells you that the Human Development Index is going to be measured in Nasarawa, this and that. No, it is at the center. That is what is used as a parameter for measurement. So, like he said, and like others have said, it is essential for the subnationals to play their part, not just sit in the offices like demigods as they're currently doing, and sit fat on people's resources.
I'll still come back to that because I want Prof to make a conclusion, but my producer says, take a break. I'll take a break very shortly and return. Stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
With a population of about 36 million people, the Southeast is awash with stories. Every day on Southeast News, we tell the peculiar story of the Southeast and her people.
Our Southeast should be the Silicon Valley of Nigeria.
Their successes, achievements, and daily challenges. Do you have a Southeast story to share? Community achievements and challenges, completed and uncompleted projects, bad roads, water scarcity, erosion, flooding, insecurity, or even disagreements? Bring it on to Southeast News. On Southeast News, no story is too big or too small. Southeast News. Let's tell our story. Showing on Signature TV every weekday at 4 p.m. WAT, 1600 hours GMT.
We are local.
We are right now with the wife of the man that was...
Why the main market is in chaos? People...
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
We have taken this vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Thank you very much. We are still in the studio, and I still have Mukhtar Imam and Clement Chukwemeka. Now, Prof, yes. I had said to you, I'll still come back to you, because I was going to put in a question to enable you to land.
Right.
And that is, in assessing 2 years of Tinubu, therefore, when it comes to governance and federal and state relationship, wouldn't you say that Tinubu has done very well? One, he's tried to give the local governments their independence, which is in the Constitution, and worked very hard to achieve that legally. Two, he's making more resources available, which is his responsibility. So in terms of governance and relationship and resources, hasn't he done well?
Well, your question is as subjective as it is debatable, but the reality is that the administration has done fairly well in terms of assessment, as far as ensuring, even though in principle, that the local government begins to enjoy significant autonomy, which we see being currently in practice being suppressed by the state government and other state actors or institutions, as the case may be. However, I think it is only fair to say that the president has done his bit, but a lot more needs to be done, because you see, governance is not just about what you do on the paper, it is about entrenching what you have done on the paper. And these are some of the back-end jobs, or the behind-the-scene jobs that the administration has to ensure it carries upon itself, to see to it that those things that it has done on paper reflects on the ground. Because at the end of the day, recall what I said, people are going to hold you accountable. Nobody is going to care about your paddlers. The first question will be, what did he do as an administrator? How did he fare economically? How did he fare in security? How did he fare on the environment? And very importantly, how did he fare in foreign policy? This administration is going to be held account. In 2 years, we do not have an ambassador in any country. These are some of the things I would have loved to talk about, but of course, because of time. So, on the whole, the administration has done fairly well. But the administration needs to remember, people do not judge you, even though I've talked about the human development indices and all that, people do not judge you on the macro. It is on the micro. If people cannot afford food, your removal of subsidy and whatever, nobody cares about that. Because the current structure and the status quo does not allow people to interrogate their state governors. Remember what is in the exclusive list. And until and unless some kind of restructuring is done for things to be brought out there, so that people can realize that, oh, it is my governor's responsibility and he hasn't carried it out. Until and unless that is done, we will continue to point fingers to the center. And why is this so? Because the center wants so much power around it, not understanding that that power is inimical to its existence. And so a lot more needs to be done. You remove subsidy and food inflation has gone over 30%. 34 now. And then, of course, people still cannot access fuel because of the cost. Because as economists, we want to make you believe demand and supply determine. No, not just demand and supply that determines the prices of goods and commodity. Income also does as well. There's a huge income inequality gap. There's a huge and widening gap in wealth distribution. These things need to be addressed. And until and unless these things happen, this blame game will continue. But as far as blame, there's enough to go around. Even for the citizenry, we must understand in conclusion that democracy is not a destination, but a journey. We have started. Let's try to be hopeful that things will turn around. But when you look at the resources available and the level of development that we have achieved or strides, you will see that it is in fact not commensurate and a lot more needs to be done. I conclude by that.
Prof, I won't let you go immediately. Please, just give me a little more, even if it's 5 minutes, because the guest in Lafayette has, I want to ask him a particular question, because he is in the locality. Right. And the question I'm going to ask him, that's Honorable Akala in Lafayette. I will come back to you because it is necessary that we touch on it before Akala. Honorable Akala, if you are there, if you are still there with us, you are in Lafayette. You are hearing us talking about the contributions of the sub-nationals in overall national, in assessing overall national development. When it comes to security or insecurity, it happens in the localities most of the time. How well has the Tinubu administration secured Nasarawa State, and by the same token, the local areas of the country? Is there a difference between the past administrations from your experience and now?
Well, thank you very much. I think the last speaker has made a very strong point where he
Well, Honorable Akala, apparently the network is not cooperating with us. Okay, okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm told that we have gotten you back. Go ahead. That's a challenge with. Please go ahead, Honorable Akala.
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you very clearly.
Okay. So the major challenge we have as a nation is that levels of government are not pursuing coherent policies targeted at dealing decisively with some major challenges confronting the nation, especially security. You see, the level of security challenge we face today has been on and off. Today you see it's getting better, tomorrow you hear another thing else. And the reason clearly has been because the local government is not empowered. Every crime is committed in a locality and in a community. And of course, when His Excellency Mr. President took the bold step through the AG, Attorney General of the Federation, to approach the Supreme Court to say, look, let funds standing in favor of 774 local government gets to them, was celebrated by every Nigerian, especially those of us who have had the opportunity to administer a local government, understands the import and the importance of funding local government to tackle insecurity. But unfortunately, this has not come to light because the same federal government has not summoned the courage to enforce judgment of the Supreme Court. This is one of the major low points of this administration. So that has contributed significantly in not helping the states and the entire country to fight insecurity head on. I tell you, whatever approach that will be deployed by the federal and state government, until the local government is empowered to domesticate these strategies and develop homegrown mechanisms of tackling insecurity at community level, I tell you, this challenge will continue to fester. Therefore, the level of security, or you call it insecurity, I tell you, has been an average, a marginal improvement, because the people are still not free to go to their farms. And until the people are free to go to their farms, we cannot say security has improved. That's because what the people live on. Most of our people are farmers. So even civil servants have farms. So they must go to their farms freely, and that is when we can say that we still hear kidnappings, we still hear picking people even in cities, even here in Nasarawa State. So I would not comfortably say that the situation has increased. There's a marginal increase, and I can see efforts being made to improve on them. But until the local government gets funding, this challenge may not be overcome. So macroeconomic indices that are looking good, but that does not affect the common man at the grassroots. So it is the microeconomic policies that has direct impact on the livelihood of the citizens at the grassroots. So this is what I expect that levels of government should pursue. I give you a clear example. When the president removed the fuel subsidy, they introduced what they call CNG vehicles. How many states today are pursuing that? No state you can see clearly that is pursuing to say, oh, let me ensure that all commercial vehicles operating within my state converted to CNG to bring down the cost of transportation. All you see they do is to build overhead bridges where there are no vehicles to ply them, to build underpass, massive. You heard 20 billion naira going into an overhead bridge where you can see poverty in communities. People don't have access to Medicare. People don't have access to clean water to even drink. So these are the kind of things you see. So my appeal is that until the federal government who went to Supreme Court summoned the courage to implement that judgment, because the funds are in the custody of the federal government, I do not see any reason where anybody will blame the state governors for not implementing that judgment. That judgment is within the ambit of the federal government to implement. So I do not want to shift blames to the state governments. Of course, the state governments, from their disposition, do not want the local government to be free. So until the federal government does that, there's a lot of work to be done.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Akala, who's been joining us from Lafayette. Maybe toward the end of this program, we extend our credits to you. Prof, I just give me a few minutes. That's because of the challenge of security. And Honorable Akala had just said that. Until the resources that are due to the local governments are made available to them, there's no way the local governments can contribute at that local level where the authority is to handling it. Put two questions as you go. Can you assess Tinubu administration's performance in terms of handling insecurity? And add to that, taking account of what Honorable Akala has said, should the central government enforce the outcome of the Supreme Court so that the local government can get the funds to contribute to managing insecurity?
Well, in all of our conversations in this room and outside of this room, the submissions are almost alike. And one thing that is germane and central to conversations around this sort of issues is that political will is missing. And there's a need to enforce. There's a need to ensure that you beat people in line. There's the need to ensure that people confirm. There's the need to ensure that there's synergy, and so on and so forth. This has been the central conversation. So that is a given. Until and unless measures are taken, until and unless people are, a line is drawn and people are told to confirm at whatever level to ensure that the national objective is achieved, we're going to continue to rigmarole. Now, to set the tone, the country itself has never had, well, we had one a couple of years ago, 3, 4, 5 years, as a result of intervention from development partners, a national security policy. We have never had one. And we're talking about being serious in tackling security. All we find is just ad hoc arrangements, multinational joint task forces here and there, either at international or domestic level. We do not have a solid national security policy.
I beg to make an observation.
Please go ahead.
In 1982, the Institute, National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, did a research on likely security challenges Nigeria would face in the next 10 years. They identified the very source and the likely modus. Luckily for me, I had a copy of that research. When Buhari's administration came in, they made an effort to trash that report. Why I say disagree? Institutions like that have been creating and keeping such instruments. That shows that the Nigerian institutions are doing something about our threat profile. What would confront us?
The reality is this: national security strategy documents, pockets of them, are being developed here and there. The institute where I work with, this is what we're doing. As a matter of fact, the theme for this year's discourse is non-state actors in security management in Africa: issues, challenges, and prospects. Pockets of strategies are being developed here and there, and they are being put forward to say central government, state government, key in, look into this. Office of the National Security, come around this conversation and let's see how we can tackle this. But I tell you, under Mongono, when multilateral partners began to pressure Nigeria to say, we need to see your strategic, your security policy, that's when a haphazard ad hoc document was created and it was passed to them. And we were told at the tail end of the administration that that document was going to be reviewed, etc., etc. But what I don't understand is, why do you set up an ad hoc instrument to look at a document as critical as a national security policy of a country? It is absurd. This is an abysmal, this is the lowest any country can get. So I think in that regard, a lot more needs to be done. We must ensure that these documents are in place, frameworks are put in place, not just at the national level. Governors need to key in. Thank God, on our return from Niger State, we just returned from a state study tour, we decided to come up with recommendations, and part of the recommendation was to develop white papers to state governors who perhaps we see as being up and doing, to ensure that they key into the idea of hosting a national security. And this is my view, and I put it out there. And I told Babu, the governor, His Excellency, the governor of Niger State, I said, you have to buy into this. It is existential for the survival of your people. And so that is the first point. Until and unless we address that, all other issues that come after that, that will help build that, you can't build something on nothing. So that needs to be the framework. The second very critical issue, and perhaps the last will be before I leave, is, you see, Nigeria has a population of security personnel of about 900,000 or 1 million thereabouts.
Combined.
Rwanda, with a population of about 20 million people, has a policing community of close to 2 million. The entire police of Kano State, 44 local governments, are not up to 40,000 policemen. And here we are, talk about tackling insecurity. Even the ad hoc arrangements that are being done with respect to community policing to ensure that vigilante groups, for example, and other non-state actors are embedded within the security framework, these things do not see light of day. Why? Because, like some governors have told me, in private, the sort of resources they have to throw into ensuring they sustain this is not sustainable for them. So the point I'm making is, like I said earlier, there's a lot of blame to go around, but we must ensure that we put our acts together and deal with these issues. Because I have to ask, what exactly is the reason why we still are short-staffed with regards to our personnel? Is it the motivation? I don't see that as the case. Year in, year out, we see adverts being churned out, and we see the number of young people who are applying for these positions. But the system is not absorbing them. So what exactly is the problem? So we need to look in that direction and ensure that we do the needful and stop this rigmaroling and telling ourselves lies. Because security is at the heart of everything. Just like Robert McNamara said, security is development. And until and unless the people's lives are secured, nobody goes to the farm. As we speak, over 100,000 hectares of farmland have been abandoned in northern Nigeria as a result of insecurity. This is a country where the statistic that came from the World Food Program stated that 60% of the world's arable land is unutilized or underutilized in Nigeria. 60% of that. You can feed the world, and you will never hear of a food glut. You might hear of crude oil glut, whatever other food glut. The people need food. And so that is an essential part. If you cannot guarantee food security, what other security do you want to guarantee? So I think a lot more needs to be done with regards to that. On the final note, like has been said by all speakers, no meaningful development can come to this country without the input of the subnationals. People need to realize that. And I'll close by saying this. In the words of Chairman Mao, he said, and I quote, that all paper tigers are reactionaries. All paper tigers. And when Mao referred to paper tigers, he was talking about leaders. And he said, from a long-time point of view, the real power belongs to the ordinary people. But do we realize what powers we wield as ordinary people? Or are we just going to go along the path of stomach infrastructure? Thank you very much, sir.
Well. Prof, you've just asked questions. Let those out there who need to give us answers, not tell us lies. Well, Professor Mukhtar is rushing to another engagement. In fact, I kept him longer than I promised I would keep him. All I can do right now is to thank him. But as I thank him, I will also take a break because we'll continue on this trajectory of security challenge. And my next guest will come in. I'll return to Clem to ask him to go ahead and let's x-ray the legislature. Please stay with us.
In 1995, the need to look for resources to run African states became an issue. Nigeria was more or less totally bankrupt. The need to run Nigeria became an issue. Salary payment was difficult. Then Libyan government, along with Germany, decided to utilize a satellite from a private satellite company that has shares of government of Germany in it. They discovered uranium in abundance and in high quality, well spread in Niger. Out of curiosity, that leader and other leaders decided to say, scratch part of Nigeria and let's take a look. They were shocked with what they discovered. In Northeast, they discovered a portion. And that portion, in part of Zambeza, leading to Lake Chad. What was deposited there, this is not hearsay. I was in Libya, I was in attendance, along with Nigeria's ambassador, two of us allowed, then he was later told to go, and I was left alone, along with the Libyan leader and the German company and the owners of the satellite. What was kept there was capable of producing 10 Dubais, 1996. You can quote me in the eyes of this world, Mustafa said so.
They don't have the mandate to engage these people. That it is only the federal government that can give them the mandate to engage these people. So my people should be killed. My people should die all before government will talk about this. What is the meaning of this? Yesterday I buried 5 people, a father and 2 of his sons of over 40, 50 years in Teobian, very close to a military base. What is the meaning of this? If they cannot help me, maybe I'll leave this position as chairman and let it continue the way it is. I don't care about being a chairman of the local government of the people that are all killed. What is the meaning of this? Look at a child of 2 years old, butchered with cutlass. How many people? We're talking of no less than 20 people that were killed in Aondana village. This is the village of the former first lady of this state, Mrs. Eunice Otom There's a village of the Togwe. There's a village of the Bishop. Bishop Balagbe. This is fucking too much for me to condone. And I tell you, whatever will happen, will happen. Thank you.
I said the center of gravity of Boko Haram and insurgency in Nigeria are the sponsors of that program. It was beyond us. Because the job we need to do is kinetics. Fight, destroy places, resolve issues. Yeah. But we cannot resolve issue of sponsors of Boko Haram that were in Buhari's government, that we know them.
When you say we, who?
I was in the military intelligence. And the defense headquarters staff that I work with, they know. And that was why we couldn't pursue that aspect that could have resolved that problem. Because you need to arrest people. And recently, 400 people were gathered as sponsors of Boko Haram. Why is it that Buhari government has refused to try them? You remember this Boko Haram issue started since 2012. Yeah. And I was in the military intelligence that time. We arrested those people. It is my organization that actually conducts interrogation and interview. And they mention names. I mean, I can't come on the air and start mentioning names of people that are presently in government now that I know. Presently in government. That the boys that we arrested mentioned. Some of them are governors now. Some of them are in the Senate. Some of them are in Asurok.
Right. I mean, there was an operation which I led, the operation service-wide, the counterterrorism, to arrest those terrorism financiers, if you recall.
Right.
It was all over celebrated by even the former president, the former Attorney General, Minister of Defense. When they came out and said we arrested, we picked the terrorism financiers, sponsors, all that. I was the commander of that, and I reported straight to the district. And they were in detention, and that was when we even picked, as a matter of fact, the leader of Boko Haram. The leader of Boko Haram was not Shekau. Shekau,
was
died.
a spokesman, more or less, at the time.
Yes, the poster boy, so to speak. But the real leader, we captured him. And incidentally, or ironically, he's not even a Nigerian, but he claimed he's been in Nigeria for some time, but he's not a Nigerian. So, anyway, we arrested those guys, and they were in detention. We were collaborating with so many countries, about 3 countries, a key Western country, United Arab Emirates, and we got a lot of intelligence from them. We picked those people. Some were picked from the battlefield, from the front line. Some were even outside the country. We picked them, and they were in detention. And then waiting for them to be prosecuted. Then in September, October 2nd or thereabout, next thing I was invited, set for interview at the military police.
Now, we are conversing on insecurity. As Prof. Mukhtar left, my next guest came in, Otitoji Oladapo, who is also a lawyer. Dapo, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Your learned colleague. Can I move back a little bit? Between 2 lawyers, I might go to jail without bail. Am I safe?
You are safe. You're safe.
I'm protected. Because I'm not learned, and I wouldn't know what I say now and get into jail.
You are not learned, but you're educated. So.
Thank you, Toji. You're welcome. Now, we put those clips together from different media houses in this country.
Okay.
So those materials are in the public domain. But I want us to look at the logic from those materials. Okay. Mustafa spoke about the international dimension to the challenges we're facing and the management of, or mismanagement of resources coming from a survey, an area survey, and established that Nigeria has some of the purest and richest and high deposit of uranium. In this very same Sambisa Forest Lake Chad angle. The next, a general, a senior intelligence officer, clearly saying those sponsoring Boko Haram were in government. This was under the Buhari administration. And he said that some of them were in fact in Aso Rock in the Senate. The next one, a gentleman general who was retired after he successfully arrested the Boko Haram leader. And then a query, why is it that arrested terrorist leaders are not prosecuted? In other words, there is a big challenge. Nigeria knows the source of its challenges. Government knows, from what these people have said, know where its problems are coming from. Why are we shy to tackle those problems? Toju, let me begin with it. Is there something that prevents us from tackling? I'm sure you heard what the gentleman in Lafayette said. Enable us and we'll work. Without people, this is where it has been established by our intelligence community, the problem is coming from. The other person, I honestly acted on intelligence and arrested those who are involved, and it's happening. Remember that we're discussing 2 years of the Tinubu administration. I read this matter because if it was there before, what is the government doing about it now? Toju.
Well, thank you very much, sir. One thing I know about this system, government is a continuation. Whether you're coming in from the opposition or you're coming from the ruling party. One of the strategic solutions to our insecurity as a nation was not implemented. I was at this particular TV station some time ago, and I shouted it, that the issue of local government is the cradle of all our problems. And as long as local government is not giving funds, we'll continue to have insecurity problems. Because the president in the FCT, Abuja here, is not the one in my village. It's not the one in the east, in Mulere. It's not the one in Kefi. One thing we need to do is that all these local government chairmen are people who understood their own area and who needed to support their people with the best of security.
Yeah, but Toju, did you hear what that local government chairman said?
Yes.
He said, look, he confronted the military commander,
yes,
behind whose facility the people were slaughtered, and the commander said that they had not been given orders.
These are the issues. A chairman is supposed to be the chief security executive officer of his own local government. And so he will have that discretion and power to make sure that his people are safe. And then condone his community, or the forest, or the environment. If you implement the Supreme Court decision, today, no chairman will be complaining like this. The man is complaining of funds.
He says he's prepared to resign.
It does not make it, any sense to me for a chairman to just be there as what?
People are being killed.
People are being killed under him, and you want him to take responsibility. This responsibility must be discharged when you adequately provide for the people. Chairman, give them the allocation. The way you are giving state governors allocation. Governors are smiling every day. Chairmen are sad, and they are just showing what they want. They are sad. The man is sad. You could see his expression. People are being killed under his watch. He cannot do anything. So these are the problems. President Tinubu must look at it. The Supreme Court decision must be implemented. Local government chairman must have the allocations. With this allocation, we can hold our local government chairman accountable for insecurity. Let him charge them. 774 local government chairmen. Make sure you take care of your boundaries. Make sure you take care of your forest. Sir, with local government allocation, no chairman will not be able, he will be able to set up his own security architecture within his locality. He will be able to engage the hunters. They know the bush more than us, more than the military. How many military understand the bush in my village? How many of them? But the hunters who go there and hunt every day, they know. So you empower them. And then all these formations in the bush, where you have Fulani enclaves, where they do all manner of things, nobody will be seen there. The ravage of villages now, in Kogi State, they went in and picked somebody, an elderly man of about 80-something years, Major David, a retired military officer, and took him off. Today now, we have not had anything about it. Every day we see insurgents, we see, what is it called, banditry. We see all manner of this. And mind you, sir, everywhere you see banditry, there is mineral resources.
Please, let me just tell you something. On this, in this organization,
yes, sir,
we don't use the word bandits.
Okay.
And because we respect former President Muhammadu Buhari, who said that there's no difference between the bandits and the insurgents. That the insurgents use banditry when they are running short of funds to fund their insurgency. So we label them what they are. They're all terrorists.
They're terrorists.
Because we be kid gloving saying they are bandits. It's euphemism for terrorism.
I agree with you. So terrorism is terrorism.
Is terrorism is terrorism. Clement, sir, before Dapo came in, because we are assessing Tinubu 2 years, let's not be carried away by present challenges.
It's part of the successes of
the because what I just said to him is that Tinubu, hasn't he done well by making funds available to the local governments? How do we call out the governors? Because that local government chairman said clearly that he wouldn't want to continue as local government chairman who superintends over the affairs of people being slaughtered. And Tojo had just said now that if this man had his allocation to set up his own structure of protecting his local government, he mightn't be lamenting like this. All he'll be doing is use the resources to institute a mechanism to solve the problem. What do we do with these recalcitrant governors who are making us seem to converse this morning, most of the time in negative?
Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity again. I think, like my learned colleague have just said, it's quite elementary that the highest developmental kind of achievement of any government should start from the local government. And by the time the local governments are equipped, the dividends of democracy and the well-being of people will be taken care of at the grassroots. And these are the people who will definitely be talking to you, and they have the population, more than even the ones in urban. You know, you understand? So I will continue to see, and I remain that resolute on this. I said, one of the primary responsibilities of every government is protection of life and property, as well as even providing welfare for that particular. So the indices of a failed state resonates from if you do not provide most of this. And let me just tell you, there is nothing that the president will want to do that he will never do. He achieves, he has powers. That is that political will that the professor just said before leaving. The political will that the Mr. President uses Section 305 to act in Rivers State, he should equally do some certain things there are some illegalities so called that you can do and people will applaud you. I am telling you for facts. As long as there are illegalities you do and people will applaud you. And that is why you see a lot of people jubilating sometime when military takes over. We are not calling for that. But we are saying that there are some certain things he can. There is a constitutional, there are a best court decision which he can work on and take up the governors in making sure that all these things are provided. And there could be a stern warning. You shouldn't be thinking of 2027 and all that. It is people that are alive that will vote by 2027. By the time all Nigerians die because of poverty, because of hunger, because of starvation, because of insecurity, there will not be anybody left in this country to vote for in 2027. So it is better and high time he began to find a solution in making sure that the locals and the local government money, they are safe, but by providing resources, they are called their chief security just by word of mouth, where the security architecture is completely federal in nature. A DPO is in charge, even more than the governor in the state. And the DPO is controlled by the federal. There is no way you can say police is for the governor or whatever. What I keep on saying is that by the time they do these particular policies and order, they know the true meaning of this thing. Give the people who are supposed to handle some salient positions on security. I cannot see how a governor will be begging a commissioner of police in a state to help him. He said he's waiting for an order. While my people are dying, you are waiting for an order. So what we are saying in essence is that, Mr. President, the whole ball stocks on your table, desk. You should act swiftly. You have a good will. You have a good relationship with a lot of people. But sometimes when you are a driver, you may not be able to see very wild. But if you become a passenger, we are the passengers now, telling you that all is not well in Nigeria. There are a lot of starvation. People are not feeding. A lot of well-grown people are now beggars on the streets. Jobs are lost. Lifestyle, everything has completely gone up. Even accommodation, nowhere to be seen. What we are saying in essence, what I am saying in essence is just that there are a lot of things that we need to do. While he was a passenger, he was a chief critic. Now he is now the chief pilot.
Now let us call him a chief visionary.
The chief visionary and chief pilot. I feel that he has the wherewithal because of he has a lot of goodwill with a lot of people because he has touched life of a lot of people. If you pass through his house on a normal daily basis in Lagos, you will find out that he has been consistently feeding a lot of people. But it is not about feeding them, to show them how to acquire, to feed themselves. Now you are in charge. You are now the father of all. And I feel that this is an opportunity to redirect this Nigerian economy, make it a very sweet way where everybody can come up and say, I am happy with what is going on. You cannot go on the street of Abuja or anywhere in Nigeria and ask, how is this government faring? They will say, nothing. They are not seeing anything. He may be doing some certain things, but it doesn't trickle down to the locals and local government. And this is why we are saying that the autonomy and the judgment of the Supreme Court in giving that financial autonomy to local government. He should implement it at all costs. Even if he has to lose 2027 election, he should implement it. And I bet you if he can start implementing it and we start seeing results, not the results that the governors will pocket all the local government, appoint them and make them to sign off their money and all that. And the agent of the government, which is the EFCC, the local government chairmen are not under ourselves. We need to eat to be alive. Let them concentrate on where monies are going, and people are now mismanaging that money to the detriment of the masses.
As a matter of truth, Dapo, before he came in, Clem had given him the burden of looking at the legislature. And my reasoning is this. We are looking at the Tinubu administration 2 years on.
Yes.
The executive is not a lone wolf. It has accompaniment. A critical accompaniment is the legislature.
Yes.
The distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, President of the Federal Republic, has used a boxing contest illustration.
President of the Senate.
The Senator of the Federal Republic.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
He's a distinguished senator.
Not the President of the Federal Republic.
No. He's the President
of the Senate.
Of a distinguished institution.
Yes.
Critical to our democracy.
Very good.
He said that he's not there, they are not there to be given wild punches, wearing their gloves and trying to knock send good night punches on the executive. They're supposed to work. In assessing 2 years of Tinubu, do you think that the legislature, the National Assembly, has performed its function well enough to create credit for the government? Oversight functions. Looking at the policies and warning the president on the wrong or right policies. Contribution.
Honestly speaking, with an average mark. First of all, of everything the president wanted, without constructive assessment, and particularly the declaration of state of emergency in Port Harcourt, a democratic institute supporting a military system, a democratic institute romancing a dictatorial rule, a democratic institute making friend with enemy in democracy. That's what I saw. The Constitution of the National Assembly. I have never seen to turn of the voice votes in my life.
But I gave you a charge when last week.
To turn of a voice vote.
No, you're not being fair.
No,
you're not being fair to the National Assembly.
You're not fair to the National Assembly is a constitution of, is a creation of the Constitution. And being a creation of the Constitution must follow the Constitution to the letter. The letter is clear. The provision of the Constitution has to two-thirds of the votes of the members of the National Assembly. It didn't say two-thirds of the voice because you can't count it.
You see, I don't want to put my gavel because I told you earlier, please, when you come back.
You are not giving me that, so I said, no.
I told you to please find us how to. Clem,
yes.
I told Dapo when he was there last. I said, look, the National Assembly, the Senate and House of Reps were acting within their rights. If not, he should bring along when he comes here next the formula for using sound to arrive at 2/3. The National Assembly has its formula and its scientific formula of using echo in the chamber to get 2/3. And you see, according to
you're defending the National Assembly in that guise. I am saying there is nothing like that. I have never seen the voice being measured. The only way is you take every individual representative to make a voice, and that voice will be recorded by name. I have not done that, chorusing a voice in the National Assembly to make two-thirds. It is illegal, it is unknown to law. So that's about that. I am assessing them 2 years, whether it is good or bad, I told you I can't give them average mark because they have constituted themselves as rubber stamp to most of the executive provisions, and they have never questioned one single thing about the government. Now look at what Wike is doing. In Nigeria, it is only this Wike that will be the executive, that will be the judiciary, and there will be the legislature at the same time. He became a minister. From the first day he became a minister, he said he will be bringing down properties. We're bringing down properties that are not in line with the master plan. But unfortunately, I have seen a lot of those things that he's doing now that is against the law. You revoke somebody's property for not paying ground rent. You needed to approach the court to give you order to re-enter. You can't just revoke somebody's property and go to that property and say you want to take it. It is barbaric. It is unheard of in history. You went to PDB secretariat, you want to go and seize the place because you have revoked it. What authority do you have? Do you have the power of the court to re-enter? It is only court in Nigeria. It is only court anywhere in the world that can make order of range.
Well, I thought that 2 hours was going to be such a long time. ENUGU studios are saying we are ready for the news. Your own news will come from here. Our own news will come from there, so that at 12 o'clock we hear the airwaves. Clem,
sir,
I do not think 2 hours is enough for us.
It's not enough at all.
Not enough.
We have not gone at all.
Yeah, there's so much more to do. But my producer says we'll come back next because I've run out of time. Okay. Clem, I want you to have a last word.
Okay. Well, 2 years viewing from the legislature and the judiciary. If you look at from the angle of where the legislative powers is vested on the nation in the National Assembly, while the judicial arm of this thing is vested in the court. My learned colleague there have rightly said that they have completely infuriated. The executive have completely gone into the legislature. The same way that we need to guard jealously of the aspect of the judiciary so that they will not infuriate, find their ways in there. But they are finding their ways only indirectly by introducing their relatives to be part of the court. And that is where we must be we must be speaking and be guarded so that there will be policies that we need to reduce. I am not saying those that are qualified should not be there, but we have to see how to reduce it in making sure that there are that checks and balances and equity and fair play.
Okay, Clem Toju and my friend Honorable Akala in Lafayette and Professor Mukhtar Imam, these have been my 4 guests in the past 2 hours. Frankly speaking, they needed much more time for us to interrogate, look at security comprehensively, look at governance, look at agriculture, look at health facilities, look at our reward system, look at the management of labor under the Tinubu in the past 2 years. Time is not on our side. And let me just thank my colleagues. They will always be available for me to interrogate more issues as we go along. For this Thursday, we thank you for investing your time with us. My name is Mwabu Zenjoko. Please enjoy the rest of the morning and good day.
Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I'm Charles Pius. In the headlines, Nigerians gave their scorecard on the 2 years of the Tinubu administration. What's going on there? Manhunt for native doctor engaged in ritual killings continues following gory discoveries in Ezeago community. Israelis rally to mark 600 days for hostages held in Gaza, and German foreign minister rejects Russian accusation of warmongering. Details shortly.
We are local.
We are right now with the wife of the man that was...
Why the main market is in chaos. People
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye.
We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
President Bola Tinubu has been speaking on the event of his sweeping reforms, which he said has brought about economic recovery and renewed focus on security and development. In his anniversary message to Nigeria, Tinubu defended his early policy decisions, such as the removal of fuel subsidies and the unification of the foreign exchange market, describing them as painful but essential. The president said that inflation is easing and food prices are beginning to fall, with rice being a notable exception. He also pointed to a rebound in oil and gas investments, fiscal improvements, including a drop in the deficit from 5.4% of GDP in 2023 to 3.0% in 2024, a surge in external reserves to $23 billion. Tinubu also cited progress in healthcare, education, and agriculture, and reaffirmed national security as a top priority. It is a common tradition in Nigeria for federal and state governments to present their report cards to the public on the anniversary of their coming to office. As they do that, citizens on their part carry out their individual and sometimes collective assessment of how they have fared, the government at the federal and state levels. Signature TV correspondent Chinevere Kebunam went to the streets of ENUGU to find out the feelings of citizens in the 2 years of the present administration.
As Nigeria marks the second anniversary of the ruling All Progressive Congress, citizens of ENUGU and across the country are expressing their views and frustration with the prevailing socio-economic condition.
The leaders should do better, from the local government to the state to the. I'm not just talking about the federal. I'm talking from the grassroots. Everything is a mess. I mean, it's something that if they have conscience, if they listen to the voice of the people, because it's supposed to be democracy, it's supposed to be for the people. And so if they listen to the people, they have to do better.
It's the worst thing. Where will I even touch? Is it from the school fees, from the feeding money, from the house rent, everywhere? Things are very hard now. Something that we used to buy for 5,000, like now, penta of corn, because I'm into popcorn making. Pint of corn now is 10,500, but we normally buy it at the rate of 5,000, 6,000. So everything now is going higher.
Despite the optimism that greeted the inauguration, 2 years later, the nation is grappling with unprecedented challenges that have severely impacted the lives of citizens.
If you look at it within 2 years, what the government and the administration of Tinubu, President Tinubu has done, I'll say in terms of policies, in terms of the policies they have created, they have enacted, I'll say perhaps he has done well. But the question is, how is this policies that the government, the Tinubu administration, how is it affecting or putting food on the table of the common man? My answer to that is that with time, I want to believe that things will get better.
Nigerians are now voicing their frustrations over the socio-economic downturn, security threats, and other pressing issues that have eroded their trust in the system.
If you look at the dollar rate of when Buhari was in power and Tinubu now, you know that it's quite poor. People like me that is into the trading system, I know how it affects us when it comes to the buying and selling of US dollar. So it's affecting us badly. And you know, when you tell our people who buy from us and who sell from us, it actually affects them even in the crypto market. So I would say that Tinubu system has actually affected the naira as well. So I would say that things have gotten really, really, really bad. Not just in the dollar rate, when it comes to prices of things. You know, students actually, take for example, I have a sister studying medicine. So in the usual amount she asked for school back then was a certain amount, but due to how things have gotten so bad, prices of things have increased and we have to give her more money for that. So that is how I would say things have actually gotten worse.
The lives of citizens have become more frustrating, with many Nigerians still struggling to make ends meet. Amarachi Ume, a secondary school student who occasionally helps her parents in the market, shared the stark reality of her family's struggle, particularly with paying her school fees, compared with the previous years when things were much better.
The price is now very costly. It's very costly than sometimes they used to sell 50 litres, 200, but now it's now 400, 500. So books are costly, everything, even the registration. Once you start to school, it's very costly. That's why some people do not used to go to school. You see many people driving barrow in only goes. You'll be wondering why they are driving barrow. It's because of the school fees are they can't afford the school fees. It's very hard for them. Even to eat safe, it's very hard. Because when a governor, a president do well, then everything will be normal as before. Like olden days when my parents and my father and my mother, things were very cheap. Even bag of rice, you can buy it for 50,000. But now it's 100 and you see a bag of 150,000. Things are very hard. When they reduce it, then people can be able to help themselves and buy some things in the market.
Citizens like Ike Chukwumba attribute the current hardships in Nigeria to the policy failures and structural deficiencies of the president.
What he has not done well is that he hasn't touched human infrastructure. We're then out of hunger starvation in this country. And it's the duty of Mr. President. Look at when Jonathan Goodluck is on seat. They look at people's mind. They borrowed from different angles to sustain poor masses. But look at Mr. President. They borrowed to sustain the big men. No poor masses are suffering. Like in the market where we are suffering about civil servants not paying salary. How could we sell? If they pay civil servant salary, we sell. So let Mr. President, this minimum wage are talking about all this why? Let them pay minimum wage.
As the nation navigates these challenges, citizens are praying for divine intervention to guide the leaders, especially the president, who introduced policies that have had far-reaching consequences on the populace. They are urging the government to prioritize their welfare and work towards creating a prosperous and secure.
There are mixed reactions from the people of Abia State on the 2 years of President Bola Tinubu in office. While some people give him thumbs up for what they see as his bold economic reforms, others complain of increased poverty and level of insecurity in the country. Those who spoke to Signature TV at Aba and Umuahia said the removal of petrol subsidy has brought immense pains, wondering why the government did not match the withdrawal with adequate palliatives.
Something in mind as a leader, because in leadership, every leader has his own operation and administration. So it's something that no one can dictate for now. But I believe by next 2 years, things is gonna be normal as been expected.
What I know about this Tinubu's administration is that there is hunger, and everything is very, very costly in the market, both foodstuff and everything in this Tinubu's regime.
This Tinubu's administration, we are not finding it easy at all. Stock fish that we were selling before at least 300, 400, but now fish is about 3,000 or 4,000.
What are we saying? Everything has skyrocketed. We are not even talking about 100% increment. Inflation is now. Inflation. What can we talk about? Inflation is a normal thing. Every day things are increasing. So I don't know how somebody can stand on his ground and say he's supporting this administration or whatever. To me, that means saying words. It's nothing to write home about.
It's particularly to me, it's not favorable to me, because since all this may pass regimes and I know how I feel, but this very one, things very, very hard. For some people, at times some people enjoy it, but it's sure the majority of people are suffering from it. Everything is highly increased, which is not supposed to be. For example, I could remember right from the time of Obasanjo, the different one is everything is just very, very high. A cup of rice is 500 naira. Then we cannot even get something of 100 naira again in the market.
Little things I've seen about this government have made me to realize that the way they are ruling us is not good, because things are getting costly every day. Commodity of things, instead of things to be decreasing, they are rising every day. And the way I see this country is turning to something else, because before, when I realized what this country is before, it wasn't something that was difficult for us, because I could remember when pure water was 10 naira, 5 naira then, but now one pure water is 25 naira, 2 is 50 naira. So I don't have much to say about the government, but what can change this government is just to give us a good leadership, a good president that can lead this country, where that will make our government to change.
Government officials, especially at the federal level, and some business elites have praised the removal of fuel subsidy and foreign exchange reforms as visionary and bold policies taken by President Tinubu. The Central Bank of Nigeria was also overhauled, leading to a unified exchange rate and attempts to control excess liquidity. The naira has, however, continued to fluctuate, with signs of stability recorded in the last few weeks. As the nation marks the second anniversary of the present democratic government, residents of Port Harcourt and the Rivers State capital say the 2 years of Tinubu-led federal government has brought untold hardship to the nation. They decried what they deferred to as a visionary leadership, wastage, and excessive impunity and hunger, which they claim have characterized the administration.
While every other state in Nigeria has been enjoying years of democracy, the situation is not the same in Rivers State, where a retired military administrator is in charge. And the man at the helm of affairs, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, is justifying his appointment, saying that the ongoing political crisis in the state is not beyond resolution. Speaking during the event marking the 58th anniversary of the creation of Rivers State at the Government House in Port Harcourt, the administrator described the crisis as a political disagreement and not a war. The administrator called for a sober reflection on the current state of affairs in Rivers, lamenting that the situation does not reflect the dreams of the founding fathers.
I have listened to various commentaries about Mr. President's decision to invoke the Emergency Proclamation Act And I ask, where were all these commentators when one-time political allies had minor differences and some politicians choose to take advantage to line their pockets while beating drums of war? Some of our faith leaders took sides rather than call brothers to preach tolerance and forgiveness. And some of our elders seemingly forgot their age-old mediation roles in times past.
He urged citizens to reflect on the actions and inactions that led to the current impasse and challenged leaders to put the interest of Rivers people above personal ambitions.
All through human history, great nations and states have experienced their own mountaintop and valley moments, periods of bitter contention, deep division, and intense struggle. Whether driven by political, sectarian, ethnic agreements, these moments often seemed insurmountable at the time, yet they were eventually overcome, not by force of arms or unyielding pride, but when courageous leaders found the humility to the good of their people.
There are, however, mixed reactions from the people of Rivers State on the performance of the suspended Governor Fubara. Great number of Rivers people commended Governor Fubara's performance and his peaceful disposition in handling the political crisis in the state, saying he is a true God sent to liberate the state. They told Tinubu to allow Fubara to return and steer the affairs of the state, describing the state as a state without direction. In an exclusive interview, Pat Obiene, a Port Harcourt-based social rights advocate, described the administration as a failure and shrouded in impunity and anarchy.
We've seen a government that is interested in curbing impunity and, maladministration and abuse of power as a form of corruption. We will not tolerate that. We will not encourage that. We will not promote such, uncivilized and primitive values that can fast erode the trust of the people in that government. Because we are not an island. These are values that these countries we expect to trade with us, cherish so much, they hold very tenaciously.
A legal practitioner, Samuel Ayasuk, accused the Tinubu administration of flouting the tenets of constitutional democracy in Nigeria and making a mess of the principles of the rule of law, separation of powers, and checks and balance.
This is a constitutional democracy. And if we practice constitutional democracy, and then, in the same vein, the administration does things that are unconstitutional, then it is at variance with the mandate and then the intendment of the Constitution. You must not violate that which gives you authority. You're not allowed to cherry pick, to choose and pick the ones that suit you and discard the ones that you feel do not suit you.
Ayasuk said the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers was not done in accordance with the provision of the law, saying that a military government in a democratic nation is strange to the law.
The clear instance of Rivers State now being governed by a non-democratically elected person, the entire state being handed over to an individual, a sole administrator, to solely rule is not contemplated under our Constitution.
Other residents called for unity to grow Rivers State. There may be varying opinions on the performance of leaders at the various levels, but what is not arguable is that Nigerians expect a better deal from their leaders to make their life better.
In ENUGU State, launch a manhunt for the native doctor Onyeka Obu, said to be engaged in ritual killings in Umuojo, Isiagu, Omumba in Ezeagu local government area. The chairman of Ezeagu local government area, Vitalis Ndu, who had earlier visited the scene of the incident, said security has been beefed up in the area. Correspondent Ugonewalo, who visited the Ezeago local government, has an update.
Beneath the surface of seemingly peaceful communities, sinister forces can operate undetected. The discovery of a ritual syndicate in Umojo, Umumbandiago reveals what could happen under the shadow of communities and the importance of vigilance and collective actions. The activities in Umumbandiago are a grim reminder that reports of ritual killings are not just fairy tales, but stark realities, not as distant from us as we may think. The latest incident, which is the adoption of a 13-year-old girl by a gang led by self-acclaimed native doctor Onyeka Obu, popularly known as Ide Play, Ide Show, has sent shockwaves to the area, the entire Enugu state, and beyond. The incident, which occurred in Umojo, Ishago, Mumba Autonomous Community, has sparked widespread outrage and concern.
My father and I were collecting firewood to process Gary when we encountered a group of men. They tricked my father into handing over his cutlass, claiming they needed it to repair a motorcycle, only to turn the weapon against him. They abducted me and tied me up, intending to use me for rituals.
Chairman of Ezeago local government area, who had earlier visited the scene of the incident, provided a detailed account of the incident, sharing a harrowing tale of the girl's ordeal. He confirmed that a rescued 13-year-old girl was taken to the hospital where she was examined by a doctor and declared medically healthy. Chairman urged community members to be vigilant and speak out against evil whenever they occur, emphasizing the need for solidarity and community action.
In their numbers, because we have neighborhood, with the neighborhood watch within the area, how to go to that particular house. In the course of searching for that child, because the father is from the community, he narrated what happened. And an eyewitness observed a noise or a cry of a child and described from the father's account of it that a bike also entered there. So hearing that cry of a child and a bike that entered where he sees no road, he now confronted the owner of the house. What is actually happening inside their compound? And the man tried to dissuade him that it could be the goat or something like that. So the man, sensing that it could be something worse than that, and he's alone, had to now allow the community that are already in charge of the search of the missing child. So the collaborative effort, the man escaped because they were not sure at that point in time. Neighborhood watch. The essence of neighborhood watch is to help in police, in community policing, and it was through their effort this thing was achieved. So the problem we usually have is that the criminal is still a human being from a particular community, but we'll keep on fighting it this way because they will keep on being after a lot. They understand. That's why if you see this kind of a thing, you do things that will deter others from joining crime.
A community leader in the area, Chibato Keke, emphasized the importance of staying focused on productive endeavors, cautioning the youth against the dangers of criminal activities. He encouraged them to channel their energy towards positive pursuit, ensuring a brighter future for themselves and their community.
Advice goes to the parents. Don't leave it for the teacher or for your whoever. Teach your children what they will be in future, what they will do, the road they will follow, how to respect people, how to follow this world. This world is vanity upon vanity. But if you go and get money from him, see your children, see your mates, why are you here disturbing me? The child can go out and do whatever he wants to do and come back, even use his mother.
The divisional police officer for Umumba Division, Emeka Ichie, declined to speak to Signature TV on the incident, saying he was not authorized to do so. In Enugu, Ugonowalo reporting for Signature TV.
The Senate has approved the budget of 124.2 billion naira for the Nigerian Police Trust Fund for the 2024 fiscal year. The approval came after the presentation and adoption of a report by the Senate Committee on Police Affairs during Wednesday's plenary session. Presenting the report, Vice Chairman of the committee, Yunus Akintunde, confirmed that the committee upheld the proposed budget, allocating 1.2 billion naira for personnel costs and 98.6 billion naira for capital projects. The budget aims to enhance police operations nationwide by training personnel, renovating and constructing police stations, and upgrading critical infrastructure. It also includes funding for barracks and clinic renovations, as well as the procurement of compressed natural gas vehicles to improve police mobility and promote energy stabilization. Senate President Godswill Akpabio expressed confidence that the budget would significantly boost national security. He emphasized the need for strict oversight by the Police Affairs Committee to ensure full accountability in the fund's execution. The Nigerian Police Trust Fund was established to provide supplementary financing for the Nigerian police force to help strengthen law enforcement and public safety across the country. The chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Finance, James Faleke, has said the amendment of the Ministry of Finance Incorporated MOFI Act has become necessary to reposition the agency and enable it to effectively discharge its responsibilities. Faleke made this known at a public hearing on the bill to repeal and reenact the MOFI Act, held jointly by the House Committees on Finance and Public Assets. Faleke explained that MOFI, established in 1959 to manage federal government investments and properties, has failed to meet its mandate due to structural deficiencies and operational inefficiencies.
This public hearing is therefore to elicit inputs from the MOFI and its entity and other stakeholders, as well as the general public, with a view to enhancing the performance of MOFI and to ensure adequate revenue generation for the government for sustainable national economic development. Consequently, the House Committee of Finance considered this public hearing a veritable legislative platform to galvanize public opinion on the way forward in the discharge of its legislative assignment to ensure effective passage of the bill.
In his submission, Chairman of the MOFI Board and former Minister of Finance, Dr. Shamsuddin Usman, raised concerns about the poor performance of government-owned assets, many of which were set up with loans but are now unaccounted for or not generating any returns. The Managing Director of MOFI, Dr. Armstrong Takang, said the agency has significantly grown the assets base under the management from 1.25 trillion naira in early 2023 to over 18 trillion naira through structural reforms, transparency initiatives, and better financial oversight.
The evidence available to us, based on the work we have done so far, is that we have large number of assets that are sprinkled not only within Nigeria, but outside Nigeria. However, it becomes extremely difficult to account for those in a way that is verifiable, for accountability and transparency, without having a structure and having a legal framework that backs our work. So that's one limitation that we have at the moment. So far, we've been able to do the assets register that stands at over 38 trillion naira from just 20 of our corporate entities, and that work is continuing. Our belief is that we need to also account for the non-corporate assets. What are those non-corporate assets? If we look at a lot of our infrastructure assets, even our ports, are a significant part of the infrastructure of federal government. Those ones are not being accounted for because they are not under a structure that allows us to do the accounting properly and report on that.
The House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the activities of the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NELFund, over allegations of unethical practices in the disbursements of student loans. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance sponsored by Ali Mustafa, who called for the House's intervention. Mustafa noted that the Student Loans Act 2024 was enacted to guarantee transparent, timely, and equitable access to interest-free loans for Nigerian students pursuing higher education.
The House notes that the Student Loans Access to Higher Education Act 2024 was enacted to ensure transparent, timely, and equitable access to interest-free loans for all Nigerian students pursuing higher education. Also notes that significant progress has been made in the program so far, with over 500,000 applicants and the disbursement of over 54 billion to beneficiaries across the country. Aware that a recent report by the National Orientation Agency alleging collusion between certain tertiary institutions and financial institutions to delay, divert, or conceal disbursement of student loans under the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, the NOL Fund. Also aware that the National Orientation Agency and NEL Fund have uncovered that some institutions received loan disbursement but failed to notify beneficiaries or update financial records, which is a violation of the NEL Fund guidelines, raising concerns over transparency and accountability.
The House urged NEL Fund to implement advanced IT solutions to enhance verification and streamline internal processes. Lawmakers also mandated the agency to report any institutions violating the Act or its guidelines to relevant authorities and to apply appropriate sanctions. The House of Representatives has called on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to restore efficiency, professionalism, and dignity to Nigeria's foreign missions in New York, Atlanta, and Washington, D.C. in the United States. This decision was reached following a motion of public importance, sponsored by Majority or Minority Leader Kingsley Chinda and 4 others. Chinda raised concerns over the deteriorating state of infrastructure, of unpaid rents, and staff who have gone over a year without salaries at these missions.
The House notes with utmost concern disturbing and embarrassing findings discovered at the recent oversight visit of the Nigerian United States of America Parliamentary Friendship Group to the Nigerian mission houses in the New York, Atlanta, and Washington, D.C. The House also notes that mutual diplomatic representation is very crucial for promoting understanding and international cooperation amongst various countries and projecting a positive image of Nigeria among Committee of Nations. The House further notes with dismay that the Nigerian Mission House in New York is reportedly indebted in rent payments and has left over 30 staff without salaries for over a year. And in Washington, D.C., the elevator in the Mission House was only repaired after a patriotic Nigerian intervened to restore it, an act which, while noble, underscores gross negligence and systematic dysfunction in the running of Nigerian foreign missions.
The House expressed dismay at the gross negligence and systematic dysfunction plaguing Nigeria's foreign missions in the U.S. Up ahead, Benue traditional rulers extend quit notice to Fulani headsmen by 14 days. Schools shut as diphtheria outbreak claims lives in Imo community. Details of these and more after the break. To stay with us.
We are local.
We are right now with the wife of the man that was
the market is in chaos. People.
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
We have taken it through by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Traditional rulers in Benue State have issued a fresh 14-day ultimatum to nomadic headers and suspected terrorists, demanding that they vacate the state's farmlands or face severe consequences. The directive was jointly declared by the tour chief and chairman of the Benue State Traditional Council, Professor James Ayase, and the Orchard Idoma, John Olaigwe Odobo, on behalf of the Benue State Traditional Council. The announcement was made during a town hall meeting at the new banquet hall of the Government House, Makurdi. Traditional rulers decried the worsening insecurity across the state, particularly the killings allegedly carried out by armed militia suspected to be Fulani headsmen. The National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, plans to register 95% of Nigerians in the National Identity Database by December 2025. The Director General, Abisoye Koka Odusote, said during a briefing in Abuja that the plan includes boosting infrastructure, expanding registration centers, and launching public awareness campaigns. She said that the present enrollment of about 85 million Nigerians falls short of the estimated 220 million population. Koka Odusote highlighted efforts to enhance public trust and data security, said the initiatives will give Nigerians control over their data via NIN authentication, partnering with security agencies to combat fake NIN sites, and collaborating with the Nigerian Data Protection Commission to train staff handling data. NIMC, she said, aims to integrate systems across ministries, departments, and agencies through a new public key infrastructure and promotes digital signing and seamless document sharing, key to advancing Nigeria's digital economy. A diphtheria outbreak in Mbutu community, Abo-Mbise local government area of Imo State, has led to the deaths of several children, prompting an immediate closure of schools in the area. The chairman of Abo-Mbise local government, Ihiokwumere Alaribe, confirmed the development in a statement, said the local government has taken swift action to curb further spread of the disease. Alaribe urged parents to take urgent steps to vaccinate their children during the period of the temporary closure of schools and to keep their children indoors. He appealed to the public to remain calm and cooperate with the health authorities. Diphtheria, a highly infectious disease caused by the toxin-producing bacterium, primarily affects the nose and throat, but can also impact the skin. It spreads through respiratory droplets from coughing or sneezing or via direct contact with affected persons or contaminated objects. Nigeria has recorded 25,812 confirmed cases of diphtheria out of 42,642 suspected cases across 36 states, the Federal Capital Territory, and 350 local government areas, with confirmed cases spread across 184 council areas in 26 states. Dr. Noye Soludo, wife of the Anambra State Governor, has launched Pad Bank in 300 schools across the state as part of the intensified campaign to support women and girls facing menstrual hygiene challenges. In a statement commemorating the 2025 World Menstrual Hygiene Day, Soludo revealed that her initiative, which began in 2024, has now been fully established in schools to support girls during their menstrual cycles and related emergencies. She emphasized that the initiative aims to ensure that menstruation does not disrupt the academic focus and confidence of schoolgirls. The goal, she said, is to ensure that every menstrual emergency in schools is met with immediate accessible solutions so that no girl has to suffer in silence. Official data estimates that over 37 million women and girls in Nigeria are unable to afford sanitary pads, forcing many to rely on unhygienic alternatives. Findings from the World Health Organization, WHO, and UNICEF indicate that inadequate water, sanitation, and hygiene infrastructure remain major barriers to safe and dignified menstrual management. The federal government has announced a monthly stipend of 45,000 naira for students who enroll in technical colleges across the country in order to revitalize technical and vocational education training. The Executive Secretary of the National Board for the Technical Education, NBTE, Professor Idris Bogaje, who disclosed this in Abuja, said the initiative is part of a broader strategy to reposition the technical and vocational education in the country and make it a more attractive alternative to traditional university education. Bogaje explained that the new policy will fast-track the development of the sector and expand enrollment at the sub-tertiary level. He said that apart from the monthly stipend, the government will also cover teaching fees, pay industry-based supervisors where students undertake industrial attachments, and finance the cost of skill certification. Bogaje is optimistic that the new initiative would reverse the trend and restore technical and vocational education and training, for which 120 billion naira has been allocated to its former prominence. A federal high court in Kaduna has awarded 900 million naira in damages against the immediate past governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, and 5 others over the unlawful detention of some Adara community's elders in the Kajuru local government area of the state in 2019. The presiding judge, Justice Awad Buhari, delivered the judgment in favor of one of the plaintiffs, Awemi Dio Meisamari, and 8 other Adara elders who were unlawfully detained over the murder of their traditional ruler, Raphael Meiwada Galadima. El-Rufai, who was sued in his personal capacity, was found guilty for ordering the arrest and detention of the elders. The judge also dismissed preliminary objections raised by the respondents, who argued that the Federal High Court lacked jurisdiction to handle the case and that the case was based on torts rather than fundamental human rights violations. In her reaction, the lead counsel for the plaintiffs, Gloria Bellason, described the judgment as a landmark victory against abuse of executive power and a watershed in the fight against executive lawlessness and human rights violations. The 8 elders were arrested during a town hall meeting convened by the former governor in 2019 following the abduction and killing of the traditional ruler by his abductors. The elders, including a former commissioner and a retired police officer, were detained for several months before being released on the advice of the Attorney General of the Kaduna, who found no legal justification for their continued detention. Armed bandits have reportedly attacked several communities in Munya, local government area of Niger State, killing scores of villagers and rustling over 200 cattle. According to eyewitness reports, over 100 gunmen stormed the village, moving from one community to another, setting homes ablaze, looting food supplies, and forcing residents to flee for their safety. Sources also revealed that a camp of the Joint Security Task Force stationed in Kuchi was set on fire during the attack, with security operatives reportedly fleeing for safety. It was further guarded that the assailants had regrouped at Kusasu community in Shiroro local government area, which borders Munya, before launching the attack. The special advisor to the governor on communication, media and strategy, Jonathan Vatsa, described the attack as barbaric, wicked and inhumane. He expressed concern over the role of local informants, whom he said are undermining the government's efforts to tackle the security challenges and foster meaningful development in the state. CBN unveils new Islamic finance liquidity instrument. Nigeria's debt burden set to rise by President Tinubu requesting 24 billion naira loan. Details of these and more in our business news.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has launched 3 new instruments to strengthen Islamic finance and improve liquidity management. Announced recently, the tools include the Non-Interest Master Repurchase Agreement, NNMRA, Asset-Backed Securities, and the Non-Interest Note. These tools are designed to help Islamic financial institutions manage funds efficiently while remaining compliant with Sharia law. The NNMR in particular allows for standardized repo transactions without involving interest. The CBN has directed all non-interest banks and Islamic banking windows to incorporate the instrument into their liquidity strategies while observing the revised guidelines for non-interest financial instruments. Nigeria's public debt may rise sharply as President Bola Tinubu seeks National Assembly approval to secure new foreign loans worth $24.14 billion. At the official rate of 1,583 naira to a dollar, this translates to about 38.24 trillion naira, potentially raising Nigeria's total public debt from 144.67 trillion naira in 2024 to over 182.91 trillion naira by 2026. The loan is intended to support sectors like infrastructure, agriculture, health, and education. Experts warn, however, that without clear, value-driven deployment, the borrowing could worsen Nigeria's debt sustainability challenges. Nigeria's Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, says the country invested $659 million and £6.4 million in recovered assets into social welfare and infrastructure between 2017 and 2024. He explained that the fund supported conditional cash transfers and helped finance critical infrastructure projects nationwide. The AGF noted that civil society organizations led by ANIJ and the Clean Foundation monitored the fund usage and published findings online at assetmonitoring.org.ng. He described the progress as a major step forward in asset recovery and transparency. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has praised the Nigerian Customs Service for its B-Odogu Unified Customs Management System, a local innovation boosting trade and revenue. During a visit to the Port and Terminal Multi-Service Limited (PTML) in Lagos, the ECOWAS Regional Trade Facilitation Committee commended the Comptroller General of Customs, Bashir Adeniyi, for driving the initiative. Leading the delegation, ECOWAS Director of Trade, Kolawole Sofola, highlighted Nigeria's gains in trade facilitation and smuggling suppression. He said the system is a model for the region and congratulated the customs leadership on behalf of the ECOWAS Commission for their role in promoting economic growth. At the close of the trading session yesterday on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, over 512 million shares were traded in more than 16,000 deals valued at over 17 billion naira. 128 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 39 gainers and 28 losers. University Press led the gainers, opening at 5 naira 26 kobo and closing at 5 naira 61 kobo with a 10% increase, followed by Learn Africa opening at 3 naira 96 kobo, closing at 4 naira 51 kobo with also a 10% increase. Next is Northern Nigeria Flour Mills opening at 118 naira 65 kobo, closing at 113 naira 55 kobo with a 9.98% increase, and Honeywell Flour Mill opening at 19 naira 10 kobo, closing at 21 naira with a 9.95% increase. On the losing end, Academy Press led the losers, opening at 4 naira 50 kobo, closing at 4 naira 5 kobo with a 10% decrease, followed by Abbey Mortgage Bank opening at 7 naira 63 kobo, closing at 6 naira 87 kobo with a 9.96% decrease. And that's global news on Business News. I am Tom Sinime Natis.
Four-time champion Iga Swiatek of Poland made light work of British Grand Slam winner Ima Raducanu in their French Open second round on Wednesday, notching up a 6-1, 6-2 victory and stretching her winning run in Paris to 23 consecutive matches. The world number 5, looking to become the first woman in the professional era since 1968 to win 4 consecutive titles at the French Open, has now beaten the 2021 US Open champion in all 5 of their meetings, all the wins coming in straight sets. World number 1, Aryna Sabalenka, eased past Switzerland's Jill Teichmann 6-3, 6-1 to book her place in the third round. The Belarusian will next face Serbia's Olga Dandilovic. In other results, former world number 3, Elena Svitolina of Ukraine outfought Hungarian Arna Bunda to claim a 7-6, 4-7-6 win and move into the third round for the 10th time in her career. Paris Olympics finalist and Croatian 18 seed Dona Vekic lost in 3 sets to Bernardo Pera 6-2, 4-6, 7-6, 10-3, while 22nd seed Clara Towson defeated Arantax Rus from the Netherlands 7-6, 7-5. And that's the news this hour. Many thanks for watching. I'm Charles Pius. Up next is E-Vibes with Uchechi Wokunta. Cheers.
Yes, the role of nurses has actually evolved. Nursing has gone beyond having the nurse at the bedside to treat the patient, to having the nurse being in charge of a community. Like we train our nurses in community health, making them to realize that we are part of the community. The community to feel us. And the community need to know what is around them, and they also need to know how to engage in a healthy living through health education. When we give them health education, we allow them to process it and have change behavior. And that change in behavior is evident that that health education has actually gotten them. And when they do that, you see them taking charge of their health, taking informed decisions, doing things that will involve that make them remain healthy. And also in the school, we have school health program. Before now, the school health program is not even noticed. We have the school health program where the nurse takes care of the school child, both ensuring that the learning condition is conducive, ensuring that that child is well prepared for academics, ensuring that that child has good nutrition that will make that child be healthy to receive learning. And also, we also go about engaging them in extracurricular activities, games, physical and health education, having them to do that. In those days, in my own time, we do Oga, we do swear. But now we have them go do play chess, do other things that will make the school child healthy.
Good afternoon and welcome to Evi's the entertainment show on Signature TV. Today is actually a special edition prior to Democracy Day, which is May 29th. So I have a guest and I have some, I don't have stories actually, but I have a guest. I have some clips to play to you to make this show quite an interesting one because, of course, entertainment is also part of the government's duty. So, Nigeria's creative economy encompassing industries such as film, music, fashion, literature, visual arts, gaming, and digital content creation has grown significantly in recent decades. As one of the largest contributions to Nigeria's GDP outside the oil sector, the creative sector not only generates employment and attracts foreign investment, but also serves as a powerful tool for cultural diplomacy and youth empowerment. Nigeria is a nation with enormous potential driven by the youth, growing urbanization, and shifting consumption pattern. The creative economy is a significant subsector that has been quietly contributing to this development over the past few years. The sector has seen a growth in its numbers, mostly due to increasing internet connectivity and internet penetration. Following the global pandemic, Nigeria's creative economy is vast and diverse as it houses creatives from different ethnic groups and can be described as the interface between creativity culture. Economics and technology, as expressed, is the ability to create and circulate intellectual capital with the potential to generate income, jobs, and export earnings, while at the same time promoting social inclusion, cultural diversity, and human development. Our culture is not unfamiliar with the creativity. Nigerians creatives have continuously pushed boundaries, enriched the nation's cultural heritage, and contributed to global artistic conversations. However, beneath the surface of these creative advancements lie formidable obstacles faced by Nigerians. Creative economic challenges unique to the nation, from outdated policy frameworks to financial constraints, infrastructural gaps, skills shortage, and a lack of accurate data. These hurdles demand informative solutions. So prior to this whole story I've actually narrated now, because actually it's a short clip, it's the government now and the government before, and how the government, the role of government in Nigerian creative economy. It's more like as if the entertainment industry, government is not really putting a lot of effort, but they're trying their best. I mean, when it comes to music, they're trying their best. When it comes to movies, they're trying their best. But what about other talents? Like we have arts, we have I think they put their best in pageantry too. They put their best in, you know, models. They put their best in events. Yes, but we're talking about other entertainment categories like art, you know, script writing, name them. There are so many of them. And you know, we've actually had guests that come up to have conversations like this, discuss their challenges, discuss their problems, why these things is actually a problem in Nigeria and how the government could help. We could say that some governors are trying their best, some commissioners and ministers are trying their best, especially those that are, you know, they've handed entertainment to them to do something about it. But others, as in the government in general, I don't know if they're really putting effort to it. But I think they are trying their best in a way. They're trying their best. So having this conversation with me today is Darlington Okudili. He is a talent manager. We've had him once before. He's not just a talent manager. He likes to discuss politics. So he literally has a whole lot in his table. So thanks for joining, Darlington Okudili.
Thanks for having me.
Today you're looking like a chief titled man. All right. So prior to everything I've just read and said concerning the entertainment industry, what's your take? What's your take on it?
Okay, I think the government are trying.
Okay.
At least they are creating an environment where a conducive environment where creative can explore and create their crafts, like to be seen their crafts.
Okay.
So, but I think there's a little bit more they need to do, because they need to invest more
right
in entertainment industry. You know, there are some people that are investing, but I think when government is fully
invested.
Involved.
Okay.
You understand? I think it's going to be more because there are a lot of people. In fact, as long as this country is concerned, this country is consuming a lot. Entertainment has a very big market in Nigeria. So if government invest more in entertainment, the economy of Nigeria is going to change.
You think so?
Yeah, because like let's go to Fuke Akindele.
All right.
Yeah. You know, the last movie that she did went to billions of naira. So just imagine
if the government would invest.
Because
that one is actually her personal and her crew. So yeah.
In as much as there's some individual who invested, but later just imagine if government invested more. You understand? You know how far it will go. So let's say there are more of that. You see, within 3 months. You understand? You see that there will be an improvement, and there's going to be a lot of change, because I think in this country now, entertainment are limited.
But I think they did something concerning the Headies Award.
That Headies Award, I think, it's a personal business.
Yeah, but don't you think the government was really a little bit part of it?
If government just come out full time.
Okay.
You understand? Now, let's say maybe somebody in government is aware or is part of it. You understand? But if they say, like now in American government now, they are full support of entertainment. In fact, they invest more there. You understand? Because we know that, you can imagine there's a movie that you will watch maybe in 90s. Watch it now, you see that the movie is still like yesterday. You understand? So and once they bring it to Netflix, you see that a lot of people will still consume that. So I think if our government invests in that, we are going to be like that.
Okay, so but how do you describe the relationship between the Nigerian government and entertainment? Because you've already said they are not really invested much. It's not like they are not there.
Yes.
Right? So how would you describe the relationship? Let's put it on a lighter note. You know, a relationship between a man and a woman. How would you describe the relationship between entertainment and the government?
Okay. I think I would describe that. Let's say, I would say that the relationship, because the people in entertainment are using maybe government properties
to do it. Okay.
And the government properties is not even that government property. Maybe some individual who are in government. You know, maybe have a structure or have a place. You understand? Let's say that there's something like that full time, like federal government generally. Like you say, okay, this is for these people.
Yeah.
You understand? There's a lot of revenue that's going to be generated there, because even at that now we are still the entertainment is still paying revenue, even
and tax.
So I didn't mean that we have.
So are you saying the relationship is looking like break up and make up, or the relationship is looking like what's the other word now? They used to call it. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out. But how would you describe the relationship? Is it?
It's not stable.
It's not.
It's not stable. It's not stable.
I'm looking for that word. It's always on Facebook. I'll remember maybe after the show, or between the show. I'll remember the word. So has democracy, created freedom of speech, or has it challenged? Let me retake that. Has democracy created more freedom or challenges for creatives in Nigeria?
I think for creative in Nigeria, somehow, yes. And somehow, no, because some people who are famous in the industry, some people use their platform to speak out. Some don't do that.
Like social media.
So some people use their platform to do that. So, but some people don't do that. maybe because of what they have with government or not. So it's the democracy there. Some people want to do that, but some people don't want to do that. So,
but you know, there was a time when they wanted to ban TikTok, even in Nigeria.
Yes, even Twitter and Twitter. Even there's
Yes,
a current motion
on
Senate. One senator mentioned that they have to, every creative in Nigeria has to have has to register and have a physical office. So meaning that, I don't know the side he saw that.
Okay.
But if I'm going to take it in two ways, I will take it like he saw something big there, so that, and he saw something big, one, then the other side is thinks that maybe everybody should be accountable
to it.
You understand? So now, if he saw something big, saying that everybody should have a physical office,
especially for those people that come online to like say two things.
So that means there's something big. You understand?
Yeah.
Let's them like just imagine if every creative has a physical office, that you don't have to be online for freelancing, something like that. So you can imagine how the economy is going, because everybody is now making money from there.
Yeah, because I've actually heard statements like social media is now the new oil.
Yes, there's people make a lot of money there. Just all you need to know to do is just follow the right niche, do things. But some people misuse it. The people who created it created for community where you can make money. That's why they created it. So, but some people use that as a medium where they can bully people, abuse people, do something. That's why they wanted to ban it in Nigeria, and even some corrupt things going on there. So that's why they want to ban it in Nigeria.
All right. So how important is the entertainment industry shaping the government, the culture, and national identity?
Okay, I think they are really doing a good job.
In which particular entertainment industry now? Is it the music? Is it the movies? Is it the art? Is it the pageantry? Name them. Okay. Which of them is
let me first of all, in music, like that's culture of I want to promote my own particular thing. So it's no longer don't use this word, like don't use, it's not going to be, it's no longer don't use always English. You understand? So it's now express yourself. You understand? Maybe in the language you know, it's just express yourself. So I think they are really doing great in that aspect of promoting culture.
Okay.
You understand? Then in pageantry, that is fashion. You understand? So they are doing great there. So I think last year, Lagos Fashion Show. I think
so you're a talent manager, and I'm sure you must have handled some people in the entertainment industry, of course, up and coming and the likes. So from your personal perspective, what challenges have you faced that you think the government should put an eye to talent managers? Because even our big stars, they have talent managers. Davido has a talent manager. You understand? So what challenge do you think talent manager like you, taking yourself for an instance, face that you think the government should actually put an eye on?
Okay. I think the one personally, the one I have encountered is we having access to some places. So we are not that
places like a location to shoot or something.
A location.
Okay.
Like we want to do something in government house. You understand? So that access. So we are limited to that access.
Yeah, but like, do you think they would even grant you that access to shoot in government house?
In US.
Oh, okay.
In US,
yeah,
people shoot in White House.
Okay.
You understand? They shoot in White House. In as much as we know that some part of their movie is created outside there, but they shoot in White House. As big as White House is, they shoot there. Even in some organization there. So, but I cannot go and shoot in Aso Rock now. So I believe that there's some movies in Nigeria now that we wanted to shoot in Aso Rock, but we cannot. And so because that place is
it's like a sacred place.
Like we just like that place is untouchable. So,
but of course.
Yeah, but if the government is open and that are open for entertainment, we can use there. You understand? So we can use the only thing that in as much as the security is tight, they just give us the access with the security, everything. But we must use there. Like let's use there. You understand? So that place, that I think that is the only place because we want now we want real thing.
Real life.
Real life, you know, not something that you know they used to criticize our craft before, like Nigeria. You will see somebody that is flying, you know, it's not real. You understand? And some places that we go, it's not real. You understand? So, but we want that real environment where you can create something, and this, and people will say, "Wow, these people are good." I think we are actually doing great on that. So, but we need more. We need to do more.
I actually understand what you're saying. You know,
understand?
We don't really have a specific studio to shoot this kind of thing.
Nobody can afford that. Yes, nobody. See, nobody can afford that. In as much as how much do you think that the, for example, now in a small production that is doing that is producing YouTube movies, how much do you think that person can put in there to create a studio just for one movie? You understand? So the thing is, if you calculate the budget, it's much.
All right, I'll still come back to that question because I think we need to hit the nail on that particular point. But before that, I actually visited an art gallery with my boss. So literally, most of his artwork has something to do with the government. Okay. All right, so we'll be playing that right now.
Okay, so we are sitting down because there's this particular artwork that caught my interest, and I really want to know the whole mystery behind it. So over to you, Uche. I can see a strong man with 6 packs beating a drum, but he has no head.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I want you to tell me the whole drama behind it and why.
The artwork in 2000. This work has been to Egypt. This work has been to Germany. This work has been to Colombia. Has been to England. I visited it in Abuja, but all the edition I tagged it not for sale. My concept behind this was Nigerian leadership. You can see this man is a drummer. He's making music. He's healthy, and the drum is making you want to hear the music. And at the base is the map of Nigeria. So meanwhile, the title of this work is my Nigeria, my country.
Okay.
So I felt bad when I discovered that all the resources we had, the only problem we had is leadership problem. And I have discovered that one can lose his hand, he still survives. You can lose your leg, you still survive. But you don't have head,
you can't survive.
You can't. And I've discovered that all the 5 senses are controlled by the head. The eyes, the nose, tongue, the nose, the mouth. And these things are the things that forms leadership. Like today, even in Nigeria, a leader can wake up tomorrow and say, nobody will go out for 1 week.
Yeah.
And everybody will obey him. So if we have the useless or the uneducated one at the helm of affairs, it affects the whole body. So this is Nigeria. We have resources. Everything is working in Nigeria. You know, sometimes as a person, I always ask them, if you export all Nigerians to Canada and bring all Canadian citizens to Nigeria, without changing the leadership system, Nigeria will still become the mess it is. And the people in Nigeria will survive very well in Canada.
So like you said, you need someone that will be able to appreciate this art even when you're gone. And maybe by then Nigeria would have, you know, gotten a good leader. So do you think whomever that will handle this art, maybe an artist like you, might complete it or something, maybe add a head to it by then?
No, because one good thing is this is an illustrative art. Or it's more like imaginary.
Yeah.
It's like an imaginary art. When Nigeria become better, because I believe in Nigeria, I know Nigeria will become better. There's a lot of prophecy, a lot of this. We almost got it during the last election. You saw the Biden movement, and so one day I know whatever we are asking for will become actualized. That doesn't mean we have a physical head here anymore. But this will not represent a story that this was our dream. Now it's a reality. So that people will now know that culture and history need to be preserved.
This particular artwork got my interest. I'm seeing 3 houses in one. I'm seeing in, and I think there's an out.
Yes.
So tell us a little story about this.
Okay, I'm so passionate about this nation, Nigeria. So this is a political system in this country. You can see there is green, there is white colors. So this is a political structure in this nation. The entrance gate is so small because they love power. So you can see there's a lot of treasure. These are Asorok, different level of power, the president, the governor, and the senate. You can see the federal house, whatever. So they have a lot of treasure. But they will always fight, kill themselves to enter. But if they do, the exit door is so wide where they will loot. When you look at this thing, it looks so deformed because some of the roofs are gone. You may think there's no money in this nation. But if you hear the level of money they loot when they leave government, after you'll be feeling, this money real? One man that will be alive will be stealing 17 trillion, 15 trillion. And you know how many millions to get to a billion, to get to trillion. But you now look at Nigeria as a nation. You're not feeling the impact of the looting. Nothing changes. If they do road for us, we appreciate them. If they don't do, we'll see celebrate them. But there is wealth in this nation. So they wouldn't even allow you to get him.
Yeah.
And if you succeed in getting in, you see what is here. Yeah. And outside, see, I use black.
Yeah.
So they paint this government as if nothing works in the government. We don't have money. We don't have this. Nothing. But you keep seeing the level of money. This EFCC people announcing that so and so man is trillion. Some people see it as big as the whole nation budget. And you keep wondering, is this nation? And one thing about Nigeria, no matter how much they steal, this stuff is still standing. Our map has not deformed.
Yes.
The citizens are still alive.
So I can see some year difference. I'm saying 2003, 2009. I don't know what.
2013.
2013. So
yes,
why?
I was talking about these are the years we had a lot of political saga.
Oh.
So these are their peak. the peak of looting. You know, this is, I won't call them, but we know these are their levels. So it was in 2013 till now that we now had the highest level of looting. You know, all those. But this nation still survives, and they are creating around Nigeria again that will probably rise with. But one thing I know is that we believe in this nation. No matter how much they do, we will still survive.
All right, so Mr. Agozi Uche,
yes,
you said a whole lot about art and your passion for Nigeria. You even described some artwork differentiating women then and now. So I want to ask you, what drives you? What influences you? What pushes you to do artworks like this?
Okay, you know, as a young man, I don't like the normal status quo. So I love experimenting. So I now discover that art is like a medium for me to express myself.
Okay.
You can hear that lady that talked about the presidents that are giving capital punishment. But with my art, I can talk and be free because it's real. So, and I believe in future. So sometimes if I see future, I can capture it now.
Yeah.
And sometimes I help people establish their vision. You tell me your vision, I can now turn it into an artwork that can help sustain you, like your vision box and this. So as a young man, I want to do things that are beyond, like in my family, nobody has studied arts. There's no artist in my lineage.
Okay.
I'm supposed to be a medical student.
But
I'm supposed to be, yes, I picked art because it's not the normal norm, everybody knows. So when I became an artist, they say, this is a strange course to us, this is a strange subject. I said, don't worry, I'll make you proud. And today, by the grace of God, I was the best artist in the whole Nigeria, 2008, with art. I've traveled abroad with art. I've eaten federal government money, in quotes.
You know, I'm about to ask you that question because I know art is there, but it has not really gotten there. Just the way we have Grammys Award, AMVCA Award, like globally. Do you understand? So I want to know, do artists, like you in particular, do you make money from this?
We don't make money in Nigeria. That's why most of these young artists do everything to leave this country. But you know, I told you I believe in this nation. The last time I did an exhibition with the Japanese artists, they almost adopted me. They said, for you to be a Nigerian, you're doing this level of ceramics. Like, you need to come to a nation.
Does it mean Nigeria do not appreciate artwork?
They don't, even federal government. There is no time you will hear the federal government organize an art auction or celebrate an artist, the like of Ben and Wong. They don't even give them an award, the like of Bruce Omno Brakweya. And sometimes you see most artists either enter into commercial, that now become artisans or crafts. And when you produce an artwork, the normal people will ask you, we've not eaten, doctors to buy an artwork. And you see this chaotic disorder, even people that are building houses, they don't consult an artist. But like as a ceramics, automobile has us to do because we design the cars, like the car plug, those things in that car plug is ceramics. We make it. The windshield is ceramics, it's silicone. It's artists that does those things. But in this nation can engage us. Like when Innocent was in, we tried even to get a logo. You know, the appreciation here is so low. And sometimes you see the white men come here, patronize us, carry our treasures and go. But this nation, they don't even organize an art competition. Talk less of. Even the other time I went to my alma mater, I felt like crying. There's no culture we are preserving, no nothing. So artists are on their own. Sometimes you see some artists, they dress rugged. Some of them, you find that becomes like mad people. In quotes, is because the patronage is so low.
So have you ever envisioned having events like this, like globally, just the way we have Grammy, AMVCA, Headies and the likes? Have you ever envisioned this, and what expectations do you want from the government to make art more pronounced and exposed out there in our country?
Yeah, I have, my dear, countless times. You know, sometimes when you travel abroad, you see artists being commissioned by the government to do monumental work. People now come, pay tickets, go around the world. People can move around it. You know, doing an artwork that is 20 feet, 200 feet, 500 feet. These are some of the things that inspire me. And I believe that one day, somebody that is sane, that will get to government, some of our roundabout need to be beautified with some of our forgone culture. Like the coal miners need to be captured. You know, people can now go around, have the history embedded on the body of the artwork. People can now go like a tour on that artwork. I made a drawing for that, I made a sketch, 40 feet artwork that can have all these coal miners in it. You didn't see the light of the day. I've gone from one government to another. And I believe one day the right man will be there who will now understand what it takes and the place of art in our society and not patronize, because even when we are gone, our children will look at our art and remember the history and
All right, so over to you, Okudili Darlington. We're talking about the challenges.
Yeah.
So walk us through. You were telling me something off camera, right? So I want you to repeat that thing you said. You know, comparing entertainment, the government and entertainment years before, and the government and entertainment now, together with the challenges we are facing now.
Okay. Before, where we were before and where we are now is not the same thing. So I think during Goodluck Jonathan regime, he invested more in entertainment. That improves that sector to this point now that we are. Like, there's a structure that came up. Well, he invested more there, so it gives the entertainment industry a shape that we are today.
Yeah.
So, and since then, everybody just, I think the government is no longer investing, because had it mean that they have investing more.
Where do you think they're even investing? No, like personally, where do you think they are investing?
I think they are investing more in other sector, like oil sector and the infrastructure, road and other things, which is not bad.
It's needed, actually.
It's needed, but you know, those things are basic. So, but we needed something that what we do and we
give
get
us
money. So I think entertainment gives money on a daily basis. You understand?
Yeah.
You give money in fact, not daily basis, in a minute, seconds.
You know, you were saying something about music artists and all. You're a talent manager, right? Yes. So walk us through, how is it for you people when it's time to shoot a video for a particular music and all that?
You mean like what we pass through?
Exactly.
Okay. You know, sometimes, though we know we are creative, so we create some things. Once if we have a challenges of like want to do something that we don't have access to it, so we create something, we create it.
Yeah.
So that aside of that, so but we find it quite challenging. So because some of things we need is not here. Like some of things we need is not even here. So, but we always have to find a way out. But it's very difficult for us. You understand? It's very, very difficult for us.
How difficult can it be? Why do I feel like there are some certain words you're not saying? How difficult can it be? You know, what I mean is this, because our time is almost up, right? What I mean is this. You know, when you're trying to give your 2 cents to your father, this is my problem. This is how I want you to solve it.
Okay. Now, like I will still go back to a locations we want to use for shoot.
Okay.
You understand? Let's say, for example, now in apartment now, for you to in this ENUGU now, for you to rent an apartment for a video shoot, you have to pay like 200 something thousand.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Like
you pay 200 something thousand,
okay.
like 250,000.
Yeah.
For you to be able to use the apartment just for a day to shoot. I think that has in that place itself is another thing. But if we have somewhere that government say, okay, this is for you, then come and
whenever
pay
you want to.
Yes, come and pay some amount.
But it will be cheaper.
It will be cheaper. You
Okay.
understand? It's just meant for these people. You understand? That's one is of the thing. So and there's some other environment again that let's say that the government owns it, not, you understand?
Yeah.
So we can go there and pay some certain amount and just go there and come back.
So are you saying whatever that is government property that individual can use is cheaper than
now? Because if they now is government, so they just said, okay, this thing are for these people. You understand? Let's name them that this thing are for entertainment. We can just go there and pay some money. We are not asking it to be free.
Of course.
Money. We are not asking it to be free.
Of course.
Yeah. So just pay some certain amount. It's part of the investment.
Okay. Thank you so much on your channel media. No. Darling Tinokudili, aka Onyocha Media. Thank you so much for gracing our invitation.
You are welcome.
Did you enjoy the conversation at least?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
All right, the show has come to an end. Join us same time tomorrow. Follow us on all our social media platforms to get more insights, stories, dramas that has to do with the entertainment industry. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. I remain your baby girl, Queenette Mokonta.
Yes, the role of nurses has actually evolved. Nursing has gone beyond having the nurse at the bedside to treat the patient, to having the nurse being in charge of a community. Like we train our nurses in community health, making them to realize that we are part of the community. The community need to feel us. And the community need to know what is around them, and they also need to know how to engage in a healthy living through health education. When we give them health education, we allow them to process it and have change behavior. And that change in behavior is evident that that health education has actually gotten them. And when they do that, you see them taking charge of their health, taking informed decisions, doing things that will involve that make them remain healthy. And also in the school, we have school health program. Before now, the school health program is not even noticed. We have the school health program where the nurse takes care of the school child, both ensuring that the learning condition is conducive, ensuring that that child is well prepared for academics, ensuring that that child has good nutrition that will make that child be healthy to receive learning. And also, we also go about engaging them in extracurricular activities, games, physical and health education, having them to do that. In those days, in my own time, we do swell. But now we have them go do play chess, do other things that will make the school child healthy.
We don't have security in Enugu. In Nigeria, totally. I don't see any security because in our farm, in the village, these Fulani herdsmen, all the things that we get there have spoiled. We don't have security. Anyway, I have not heard about kidnapping since this man coming. I have not heard about kidnapping in this Enugu since this Sepitamba regime. The government is supposed to know what they're supposed to do because before this thing is not like that. They know what to do. It's not me who tell them what to do. They know what to do in the country.
We the farmers, it's really affecting us. Like for instance, in my own village where I came from, Isuzu, the insecurity there. Most of us are no longer in the village. The things we used to eat before, we buy them now. we cannot go to our farmland again, mostly because of herdsmen. So they are attacking us. Nowhere is safe. Even in town here, every day you hear news of kidnapping cases and robbery. So it's really affecting us. No, it's just like all other places that have been affected by herdsmen. So they used to invade the community. In fact, most of the farmland, especially farm settlements, is no-go area now, where we do our farming. So where we are practicing farming now is very small. The major place where we get food, nobody is going there, especially in my own place. Most of our houses have been burnt, destroyed by them. They are still there.
Insecurity is everyone's business. And coming home, because what is close to you is what affects you. Even though you say southeast, but I want to talk particularly in ENUGU. It's becoming so alarming. We've never had it this bad. That one is even afraid to step out of his house. Even in the house self, you are not even safe. In ENUGU here, it has tripled what it used to be before. And they are no longer afraid. They operate in the daytime, in the evening time, in the night. We are not even sure. We can't even differentiate who is the actual kidnappers and who are the law enforcement agencies like the police, the armies. Because most things that happens these days, there are traces that the people involved testify they are sure these people are policemen.
The story of insecurity in this federation, more in Enugu State and Southeast in general, is an abysmal condition. In the sense that nobody can move or run his business without fear or looking over your shoulders. Whether you might be kidnapped, you can be killed, your organs could as well be harvested. You can even be leached. And all this is a pointer of a failed society. In all cases, we should just be careful because the insecurity has come to stay. Yeah, there's another day that said that when that insecurity lasts for some time, the government actually allowed you to do so because they are almost not affected in the sense that they move around with the heavy muscles all around. But if the government want to curb the issues of insecurity, they can. It could as well be nipped in the bud. First of all, you can make sure that the masses in a whole have employment. The unemployment rate in this country is something else.
Probably okay for now, because as for then, I don't think you can. As for then, you can move anyhow on the road, but you can kidnap people. For now, I think it's okay because the government and the governor, he's trying his best to make sure people are secured, even in their houses, their place of work, on the streets.
I think Enugu is a bit secure, although the number of people that have complained about kidnaps in villages actually is quite alarming. But in the town, I think the town is a bit secure, you understand. But we in the villages, we do not have police around, we don't have the military around and all that. So if the government can actually deploy people to that environment to take care of the rural women, vulnerable children, then I think it will go a long way in helping us out.
About insecurity in the country, let me give an example. There was this period that my girl have a wedding out in Suka. But because of the insecurity along that road, I guess one of the politicians was even kidnapped around that side. We didn't go. The insecurity was so much. Her wedding she was complaining that none of her girls came. And that was because of insecurity. Also, in our farm somewhere in Oye, then what happened? 2 weeks ago, they said, herdsmen were coming to the bush, therefore we cannot go and have our granules. And I think it's contributing to the cost of granules right now. And the granules, all of them, they are dying because of herdsmen. And the village members, the villagers, they are scared. My grandma is no more going to farm. Everybody is scared about it. So I don't know what the government is doing about it though. But they are not doing enough.
Yes, the role of nurses has actually evolved. Nursing has gone beyond having the nurse at the bedside to treat the patient to having the nurse being in charge of a community. Like we train our nurses in community health, making them to realize that we are part of the community. The community need to feel us, and the community need to know what is around them, and they also need to know how to engage in a healthy living through health education. When we give them health education, we allow them to process it and have change behavior. And that change in behavior is evidence that that health education has actually gotten them. And when they do that, you see them taking charge of their health, taking informed decisions, doing things that will involve that make them remain healthy. And also in the school, we have school health program. Before now, the school health program is not even noticed. We have the school health program where the nurse takes care of the school child, both ensuring that the learning condition is conducive, ensuring that that child is well prepared for academics, ensuring that that child has good nutrition that will make that child be healthy to receive learning. And also, we also go about engaging them in extracurricular activities, games, physical and health education, having them to do that. In those days, in my own time, we do Oga, we do swear. But now we have them go do play chess, do other things that will make the school child healthy.
We don't have security in Enugu. In Nigeria, totally. I don't see any security because in our farm, in the village, these Fulani herdsmen, all the things that we get there have spoiled. We don't have security. Anyway, I have not heard about kidnapping since this man coming. I have not heard about kidnapping in this Enugu since this Sepitamba regime. The government.
Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I am Barry Kumo Ado. In the headlines, South African mother given life sentence for trafficking 6-year-old daughter. Palestinians in Rafah receive aid supplies from US-backed group. And China opposes US wanting to revoke students' visa. Details shortly.
Every second, every minute, every day.
A South African mother and 2 accomplices were sentenced to life imprisonment on Thursday for trafficking a then 6-year-old daughter in a case that gained nationwide attention since the child went missing last year. Kelly Smith, her boyfriend Jacqueline Apollos, and their friend Steveno Van Rijn were convicted of kidnapping and trafficking the girl, Jocelyn Smith, after she disappeared from a small town in Western Cape. For kidnapping, the 3 were given 10-year jail terms. In a trial that shocked the country, a witness said Kelly Smith told her that she had sold her daughter to a Sangoma or traditional healer for 20